Let the house please be in order. Please stand this afternoon as we are led in prayer by the gentleman from Rankin, Representative Newman, and please remain standing after that for our pledge. Gentleman from Rankin.
Pray with me, please. Father God, thank you. Thank you for safe travels. Thank you for a weekend away from here, Lord. Thank you for being with us this week. It has the potential to be another hard week, Lord. Just be with us as we approach another deadline and give us your discernment and your will about what we're supposed to do and how we're supposed to do it. Lord, just let us remember that you love us a lot more than we'll ever love you, and that you protect us and take care of us. I ask you to be with us and let us remember to love each other. No matter what issue that may be coming or whatever it may be, just let us show each other love and remember that we need to walk out as friends, and we need to do the best that we can for our people back at home. Lord, I ask you to be with our sailors, soldiers, airmen, and Marines, wherever they may be in the world, and protect them, take care of them. I ask you to be with their families at home. Lord, I ask you to be with our law enforcement officers and our firemen, and take care of them and protect them. Be with their families and let them know that they're coming home. Lord, I just thank you for all the people that work in this Capitol, Lord, that maintain the Capitol, that clean up behind us and look out after us, and all the things that they do to make this Capitol work, Lord. Just both ends of the building, you've got a lot of people that work here and take care of us every day. I ask you to be with them and take care of them, look after their families. I thank you for all you do. I thank you for all you provide. Just be with us this week. Let us honor you and glorify you in all that we do. Bless this day in Jesus' holy name, I pray. Amen. Attention to flag, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Close the machine, Madam Clerk.
There's a quorum present, Mr. Speaker.
We will have the reading of the journal. Gentleman from Rankin, Representative Powell, moves we dispense with the reading of the journal. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Report of select committees.
We have none, Mr. Speaker.
Report of standing committees.
We have reports on the calendar, Mr. Speaker.
Introduction of bills and constitutional amendments. Gentleman from Marion, Mr. Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent to dispense with reading of the introductions.
Is there objection to this? Hearing none, Mr. Clerk, we will follow that procedure. Resolutions, petitions, memorials, and other papers.
We have none, Mr. Speaker.
Introduction of guests and visitors. All right, I welcome our few visitors in the North and South galleries. Welcome to your Capitol, and thank you all for being here today. We will go to the calendar. Chairman of Rules. Oh, y'all don't have it yet. They're passing them out. They're coming around. I'll loan you one, gentlemen, if you want to work bills. I got one. Staff is passing out the freshly printed calendars. I'll recognize the Chairman of Rules if he'd like to take up any of his resolutions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to go to item 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 and call those up in block.
Is there objection to the gentleman calling these House resolutions up in block? Gentlemen, you want to read the short titles real quick while they're waiting for a calendar?
Sure.
You may proceed.
Okay, item 3, HR 14 is Harley Grace Vinzant, we're commending and congratulating upon being named Miss Dixie National 2025. HR 15, Cody Wilson, commend and congratulate upon being named Miss Rodeo Canada 2025. HR 16, Callie Mueller, commend and congratulate upon being named Miss Rodeo America 2025. HR 17, Maddie Riles, commend life and legacy upon her passing. HR 18, Lily Overby, commend on being named Gatorade Mississippi Girls Cross Country Player of the Year. And HR 10, Jackson State University, commend upon winning the SWAC and HBCU championships. And that's my explanation.
All right, does anyone wish to have any of these set aside? Hearing none, gentlemen, we will take those up in a block. These are items 3 through 8, all House resolutions. Does that conclude your explanation?
Yes.
If you favor the resolutions, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The resolutions are adopted. Anything further, gentlemen?
I'd like immediate release on those.
Gentlemen request immediate release on these. Is there objection? Hearing none, we will follow that procedure. Ways and Means passes. We will go to the general calendar. Chairman, Education, gentlemen.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to pass those but retain their place on the calendar.
Let's see. Items 1 and 2, are those both education?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
1 and 2. And
We're down to item 3, which I believe is State Affairs. Lady from Hines.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like for items 3, 4, and 11 to retain their place on the calendar, please.
Okay. The chairman wishes to pass those but retain their place. All right, that gets us back down to education. Gentleman from Oktibbeha. I believe you have the next 2 items. We're down to item 5.
Mr. Speaker, if we could skip number 5 and retain its place on the calendar and go to 6.
All right, gentleman wishes to skip 5 and retain its place and go to item 6. We're down to 6, gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen, the House Bill, I would call up House Bill 1434 and make the usual motions.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed, read the 3rd time, and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized, gentlemen, to explain the bill.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Aeronautics Geospatial Engineering Nursing and Technical Skills of Excellent Program and improve an academic workforce outcomes. Basically, it's a program that we've had in the past that we're trying to continue. That's my explanation of this particular bill. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Questions on the bill? Gentleman from Warren, Mr. Denton, for what purpose?
Question, Mr. Speaker.
You're recognized.
Thank you. Gentleman, will you yield?
Yes, sir.
I really just want you to go over what you said because I really didn't understand.
This is an Aeronautics Geospatial Engineering Nursing and Technical Skills Excellence Program Act. It creates a program in academic workforce outcomes. It's basically a program to help with those particular technical skills in school. That's all this is.
I don't see any further questions, gentlemen.
Move final passage.
He moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 117 yeas, 0 nays, the bill passes. Next item, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to hold that particular item on a motion to reconsider, and that's all that we would handle for today.
All right. Notify yourself. You done? Drug policy. Junior gentleman from Hines, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We will pass and retain our spot on the calendar.
That's item 7.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
You got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're down to item 8, public health. Gentleman from Union, Chairman of Public Health, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to go to item 8, House Bill 1392, called up and make the usual motions.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed read the third time and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed no. The ayes have it. I believe you got a committee sub, gentlemen?
Yes, sir.
He moves to adopt the committee sub for consideration in lieu of the original bill. All in favor say aye. Opposed no. The ayes have it. You're recognized to explain the committee sub.
I'd like to recognize the gentleman from IU to explain the committee sub. Mr. Speaker, I need to table the bill, please.
You want to?
Sorry, lay it on the table, subject to call.
Okay. Gentleman's motion as to item 8, House Bill 1392, that is called up and now before us with the committee sub, is to lay the bill on the table, subject to call of the chair. Those in favor of the gentleman's motion indicate by saying aye. Opposed no. The ayes have it. Bill will be laid on the table, subject to call. We're now down to item 9. Chairman, you wish to take up your bill? You're recognized. Gentleman from Warren.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to go to item number 9, House Bill 924, and make the usual motions. It is a committee sub.
Thank you, gentlemen. Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed read a third time and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed no. The ayes have it. The gentleman's further moved to adopt the committee sub for consideration in lieu of the original bill. All in favor of proceeding in that manner indicate by saying aye. Opposed no. The ayes have it. Gentlemen, you're recognized to explain the committee sub.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I do have an amendment.
You want to explain your amendment?
It just says that we're going to add 30 days after on line 2272.
Questions on the amendment? Don't hear any. If you favor the adoption of Amendment 1, indicate by saying aye. Opposed no. The ayes have it. Amendment's adopted. Gentlemen, you're recognized for further explanation.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the peer package bill. The only difference I've did in the past is I combined all 10 into one bill. It's the same package that's been on everybody's desk since we got here in session. The only thing that I did do, I added in language talking about creating a study committee for self-insured plans. It's something that will save the state money over time, but we need to make sure we set it up right at the beginning. I mean, we need to put some money into a fund so that make sure it can operate correctly moving forward. It will save us money, but it will not be fast. So we're going to do a study committee on it to make sure we do it right so that future generations can save some money. That's my explanation, Mr. Speaker.
Questions on the bill? I don't see any, gentlemen.
Move final passage.
He moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote 114 yeas, 0 nays, the bill passes. Judd A.
All right.
Gentleman from Choctaw, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Item number 10, House Bill 1200. I call it up and make the usual motions.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended. The bill considered engrossed, read the third time and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
Recognize the lady from Hines to handle the bill.
Gentlemen, I see you've got a committee sub. Are y'all offering the committee sub? Yes. Gentleman moves to adopt the committee sub for consideration in lieu of the original bill. All in favor of that indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Lady, you're recognized to explain the committee sub.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is the Real Property Owners Protection Act, which creates a process for having a squatter removed from a property. Part of that process also provides the alleged squatter the ability to challenge any citation that is issued to them, citing them with squatting, and creates a process within the municipal court for that to play out. There are additional crimes in this bill that are created that would apply to anyone who creates and presents false documentation, such as a false lease, in court to assert that they have a right to be there when they do not. That applies specifically to false documentation that's being presented or put forward. That would apply to someone who is presenting themselves as a realtor, for instance, or a landlord, saying that they have the right to lease a property, or to someone who is a squatter saying that they have a right to be there and they create a lease and present that in court. That is a brief explanation of the bill, Mr. Speaker.
Questions on the bill? I don't see any, lady.
Final passage.
She moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 99 yeas, 14 nays, the bill passes. We are now, I believe the next item is State Affairs. Lady, you've asked for it, retain its place. We will do that. That gets us down to public health, I believe, gentlemen. Item 12. You ready? You're recognized, Mr. Chairman, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to go to item 12, House Bill 1437, called up and make the usual motions.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended. The bill considered engrossed, read a third time, and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. I believe you got a committee sub, gentlemen?
Yes, sir.
Gentleman's got a committee sub. He moves to adopt for consideration in lieu of the original bill. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized to explain the committee sub.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is House Bill 1437, and this bill makes revisions to the Medical Practice Act. This bill's been around. It came to us last year. We vetted it very well, sent it to the Hospital Association, sent it to the Board of Public Health, Mississippi Medical Association, and basically it modernized the definitions in the Medical Practice Act, makes a few changes to that, and this is, I've been through it several times, and so it's been agreed to by all parties, even my counterpart in the Senate, how Brian agrees with the changes. So that's pretty much it for the Medical Practice Act and licensure. We also added in committee the CRNAs, where they would become independent and do away with the collaboration. And we also added AA licensure to the bill. These were added because both groups have come to us recognizing a severe shortage in Mississippi and, quite frankly, the nation in anesthesiology providers. This would allow licensure for AAs and encourage more people into this field, and also allow the CRNAs after 8,000 hours to practice independently. Also in this bill, we brought forward the code sections for the advanced practice registered nurse APRNs, and there are 4 types: nurse midwives, CRNAs, nurse practitioners, and clinical nurse specialists. All we did was bring the code forward in an effort to get all these groups, along with the physicians, into the same room and have a discussion to see if there's a pathway forward to incorporate these groups, these mid-level healthcare groups, where we can find a way for them to practice independently. That is the purpose of bringing the code sections forward. I know there are several people in this room who have language pertaining to that. I have language pertaining to that. I would prefer to let this code section go through. We have a reverse repealer in the bill, so it would come back to us. But let's draw everybody into the same room and have the conversation and keep this going, and hopefully come up with a compromise to get this bill forward and provide better, accessible, cheaper health care for the people in Mississippi. The last part is the reverse repealer and the committee substitute, and this explains the bill and the committee substitute. Mr. Speaker.
Questions on the bill? Gentleman from Pike, Mr. Porter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentlemen, will you yield?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, I know you've done a lot of work on this, and me and you've had conversations. You know, I got, as the gentleman from home says, heartburn. I'm too young to have all that heartburn. But can you explain the difference as far as education is concerned between CRNAs and regular anesthesiologists?
A CRNA and what?
And the difference in education.
Sure.
As far as in comparison to a anesthesiologist.
An anesthesiologist, of course, undergraduate, then goes to med school, and then practices his residency, and it takes about 12 years to become an anesthesiologist practicing. So he's very well versed. A CRNA, it takes 7 to 8 years. They have their undergraduate work. They get clinical experience. Well, they do their undergraduate, get their nurse practitioner. They do 1 to 2 years of clinical experience, and then they work on their anesthesiology, and then pass the national certificate exam to obtain the licensure of CRNA. So it's a 7 to 8 year process.
Okay. And so a CRNA doesn't go to school as long as an anesthesiologist, right?
I'm sorry, sir.
A CRNA doesn't go to school as long as an anesthesiologist.
They do not,
right?
no, sir.
And don't you think it'd be a good idea to require people who are administering drugs that put us to sleep and wake us back up to have more schooling?
Well, gentlemen, you and I have had many conversations, and I've actually been on the other side of this issue, on your side, and I've come to realize, you know, in the state of Mississippi, CRNAs are actually practicing and doing 70 to 90% of the anesthesia services. They're actually in the room providing those services right now, whereas anesthesiologists more of an overseer of multiple cases at one time. CRNAs, for instance, in New Albany, where I'm from, which is a top 100 rural hospital in the country, doesn't have an anesthesiologist in the county. CRNAs are doing all the work.
So, gentlemen, with that being the case, if something goes wrong, then who do the CRNAs contact?
You know,
where does the book stop if something goes wrong in that room with the anesthesia?
Well, number one, if you're under anesthesia, you're there for not just to be put under, you're there for a medical procedure. So there's a collaborating doctor, whether it be a nurse, a dentist, I'm sorry, not a nurse, but a surgeon, a dentist, and then there's telemed, so we can get an anesthesiologist over the phone, but, you know, it's a team effort.
Okay, but with this bill, it removes that team effort and the CRNAs become independent,
it's always,
correct?
as far as anesthesia goes, it's always a team effort. Yes, there's one person responsible for the anesthesia. So at the same time, gentlemen, they're actually performing these procedures without anesthesiologists in the hospital many other times. But yes, there is a different level and a difference.
Well, gentlemen, if you had your choice to have an anesthesiologist and a CRNA during surgery, which would you prefer?
Gentlemen, that's a good question. I was
You
anticipating that one.
you don't have to answer that
Well,
out loud.
the answer is, I've been put under by a CRNA, and at the time, I did not know the difference. So now I know, and I would be comfortable with the CRNA.
But
I'd be more worried about the other part of the procedure, whatever surgery it was.
That's fair, gentlemen. Mr. Chair, Mr. Speaker, at this time I have a point of order.
You have it in writing?
Yes,
Please bring it forward.
thank you.
Gentlemen, we'll set this item aside and move on. We'll look at his point of order.
Yes. What you mean, the length of time between the residency or like the residency? Is that the difference? The question I don't know. I mean, all I know is if you want, I mean, if you have the same training and the residency is just short. But why? I mean, that's a good question. Why is it short? If they doing the exact same thing, why the difference? So to me, it's the exact same thing between me and my paralegal. My paralegal can just run a gambit without leaving. What's the point? My point is because she can't. Because they can't. I say she got a male paralegal. The point is that they don't know to nowhere near the experience. It really is, though.
Bring more questions.
You said more?
I was going to say, I thought you said the point of order for later.
No, I had it today.
Ask Pete for that question.
He wants to know if the difference.
We'll set this bill and the gentleman's point of order aside. Point of order is inadequate. It doesn't name a code section that's been added. It's generic in nature, but I'm sure the learned attorney, when the doctors get through sending him the text, he'll know which ones to say code sections have been added, and I'll deal with him at that time. So I see wireless communications working great around here, so we'll get to that in a moment if you'll set it aside. And gentleman from Pike, you can probably come forward and identify him with your finger. And we'll come back to this item and have a ruling. Thank you. Yep. So we'll move to item 13. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Item number 13, House Bill 1437. I'll call it up and make the usual motion.
Gentlemen, not 1437.
My bad. 1260. I'm sorry. Item 13, House Bill number 1260. Call it up, make the usual motion.
All right, gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed, read the third time, and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Now, I see you've got a committee sub, gentlemen.
Yes, sir. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to call it up.
Gentleman moves to adopt the committee sub for consideration in lieu of the original bill. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized to explain the committee sub,
Thank you,
gentlemen.
Mr. Speaker. It's come to our attention that there are some foreign countries that are adversary to the United States that is funding some litigation against some of our businesses that are contained within the state of Mississippi. They're making it difficult for them to conduct business. I do have some questions about this litigation. I've got them defined as someone that's been placed on a foreign terrorist organization. There are exceptions for attorneys, banks, any other people providing health care costs and fronting other types of litigation costs. I did put a reverse repealer in this bill because I want to continue to study it as we work it through the process, and that's an explanation of the bill.
Questions on the bill? Gentleman from Hines, Mr. Bell.
That was from the last bill.
Gentleman from Rankin, Mr. Newman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Do you have a question, gentlemen?
Introduction out of order.
All right. Well, I'll get right to you. Gentlemen, I don't see any questions on the bill.
Final passage, Mr. Speaker.
I'm sorry, gentleman from Jefferson, Mr. Harness, for what purpose?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Questions?
You're recognized.
Gentlemen, will you yield?
Certainly.
You think we may run into some issues with attorney-client privilege?
No, there are exceptions. Basically, this is limited to a foreign nation that is adversary and on a terrorist list to the United States. What these individuals are doing are funding litigation against some businesses that we have within the state of Mississippi, trying to tie them up to where they can't conduct business. Other states are enacting this. Congress has enacted some measures, is my understanding as well. What this does is just say they have to, if they are going to conduct this business, they have to disclose it to the Attorney General. And I also got a reverse repealer in it because I want to continue to look at it too. Make sure we don't do something else.
All right, thank you, gentlemen.
All right, thank you, gentlemen.
I don't see any further questions, gentlemen.
Final passage, Mr.
He moves
Speaker.
final passage. Open machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 103 yeas, 2 nays, the bill passes. We are down to insurance, I believe, item 14. Chairman of Insurance wish to take up his bill?
Gentleman Washington. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to go to item number 19, House Bill 1174. Call it up and make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed.
We have a committee sub, Mr.
Gentlemen, I'm
Speaker.
sorry. Hold on. Which item?
Item 19.
All right, well, we're down to item 14.
Oh.
Is insurance. That's where we are on the calendar. We just passed item 13 and we were down to 14.
I'd like for that one to hold its place, Mr. Speaker, if it's all right. No objection.
All right. And then I believe that places us down to 3 state affairs items. The lady's been weighing in for the chairman. Lady from Hines, you're recognized. Don't leave, stay with me. Lady from Hines, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to call up item number 15, House Bill number 1455 and 1459, and make the usual motions.
Lady calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed, read the 3rd time, and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You recognize, lady, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last session, we appropriated this money that allowed 2 full-time and 1 part-time judge to be hired for the CCID court. These judges have already been hired. They're already working. This is just the language that authorizes that appropriation. It was passed last session but did not make it all the way through the process. So this is just a cleanup bill. That is an explanation of the bill, Mr. Speaker.
Questions on the bill? Gentleman from Rankin, Mr. Newman, I'll get to you. Gentleman from Jefferson, Mr. Harness. Thank you. Leave your button on over there, gentlemen. I won't forget.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the lady yield for questions?
Yes.
There going to be any, you all going to have anything for public defenders in the CCID?
There is something that they've asked for this year, an appropriation for additional public defenders. I don't have that in this bill. That's
Okay.
a separate bill altogether. But yeah, they have asked for that.
Okay. Thank you, lady.
You're welcome.
Lady from Jones? She passes. Okay, I don't see any further questions, lady.
All right. Final passage.
She moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 94 yeas, 13 nays, the bill passes. Next item, lady.
Mr. Speaker, I'd ask that the remaining state affairs items on the calendar just retain their place on the calendar, please.
All right, I see items 16 and 17 next. We will do that. And that places us down to public property. Gentleman from Rankin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to call up number 18, House Bill 555. Make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed, read the third time, and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized to explain the bill, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is the same bill that we passed last year. It would authorize whenever a work needs to be done on the Capitol, the old Capitol, or the governor's mansion, to be done with contractors that know what they're doing, and not just be bid out to where people that don't know what they're doing. And a perfect example of that happened last year. They hired somebody to fix the plaster down on the Senate end, and they used sheetrock mud and messed it all up and had a mess. So that's what the bill does. Any questions?
Questions on this bill? Gentleman from Hines, Mr. Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentleman, you yield.
Yes, sir.
So you talked about the public procurement of the contract for the buildings in the capital area. Who have been the majority of those individuals who've been getting these contracts?
Say that again.
Who are the majority of the individuals, corporations, entities who have been getting the contracts to work at the state capitol?
I don't know. I mean, I see different contractors up here,
but for you to, and I'm just a general question. So to say that that group that didn't know what they were doing on the Senate end with respect to doing plaster and things of that nature, would you agree with me that the majority of the contracts that have been given out in the state of Mississippi, particularly for the state capitol, have been by the same groups and organizations and companies and entities?
I mean, I see some of the same guys.
You see the same local jokers, right?
Right.
So
well, they're not local, but I see.
So the majority of them are. So my point is, how many minority contractors have you seen get any of these contracts?
I mean,
I can tell you very few, if
don't know.
Any.
I can't answer that question.
And I think that needs to be addressed. And I know we don't have a code section in this bill that's open yet, but would you commit to me to start working with minority contractors to do some of this work around here, since our usual suspects don't know what they're doing?
Well, I mean, I'll commit to you to work to find the right person to do the best job that they can do.
Well, and I appreciate that, gentlemen, but my statement was to find additional minority contractors to do work with the state of Mississippi, because it's less than 1% of individuals who look like me or other shades of brown and yellow and gold that do work for the state of Mississippi. So that's all I'm asking. Thank you.
Thank you.
Further questions on the bill? Gentleman from Lamar, Mr. Tubb.
Yes, sir. Gentlemen, you yield?
Yes, sir.
So help me understand here. Is this going to take away the bid process, and they're going to be able to select the contractors they want to? Or
if what it does is I guess it prioritizes the contractors, in other words, so that they know that they know what they're doing.
It makes a short list, basically.
Right.
Okay. And then who are the engineers that were supposed to be over that construction on the other end?
Do what now?
Who are the engineers that were supposed to be over the construction on the other end? Because they should be the ones watching the construction, shouldn't they?
I'm not following you.
History and archives, okay.
It's DFA, I'm not sure about that.
Okay, thank you.
Gentleman from Hines, Mr. Brown.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Gentleman yield.
Yes, sir.
Is your background associated with engineering in any kind of way?
No, sir.
Well, how did this inferiority work? How was it identified by whom?
Do what?
Who was this inferior work identified by? What entity identified the bad work that you mentioned, inappropriate work?
It'd be the DFA and the Capitol Curator.
Thank you.
Gentleman from Marion, Mr. Morgan.
Thank you, sir. Gentleman Yield.
Yes, sir.
If I'm not mistaken, that contractor has to be acquainted with what we call history and archives in his background to get the contract on those buildings. Because if you got 100-year-old glass in there, it should be repaired with such.
Yes, sir. It's got to be repaired the same way.
Thank you.
I don't see any further questions, gentlemen. You move final passage?
Final passage.
He moves final passage. Hold your spot right there for a minute, gentlemen. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. I'm sorry. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 94 yeas, 21 nays, the bill passes. Did you have an introduction, gentlemen? It's on your desk. All right. I'll wait for you to get there. Gentleman from Rankin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to introduce the doctor of the day. I have Dr. Holden Lee here. He's a doctor of psychiatry at the Mississippi State Hospital.
Welcome. Chairman of Insurance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I apologize for passing over item number 14. If there's no objection, I'd like to go back to that item and call it up.
Is there objection?
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to go to item number 14, House Bill 1534, call it up and make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed, read the third time, and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed no. The ayes have it. I see you got a committee sub, gentlemen.
Sir, committee sub in lieu of the original bill.
He moves to adopt the committee sub for consideration in lieu of the original bill. All in favor say aye. Opposed no. The ayes have it. You're recognized, gentlemen.
I'd like to recognize the gentleman from Warren to explain the bill.
Junior gentleman from Warren is recognized to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a Make Mississippi Resilient and Strong Act. This is a mitigation program that we're setting up for the entire state. It should have an annual funding of about $10 million. We're going to allow the insurance companies to run the program. We're also going to come in and do a unique way of funding it, so we're going to grab it before it even comes to the Capitol. So it should not have any negative effects on any of our people that live in our district, because it shouldn't increase the cost to the insurance companies. This will be up to $15,000 a year for residential or commercial properties. That's my explanation of the bill, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman from Lawrence, Mr. Evans.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentleman Yield.
Yes, sir.
I understand it's up to $15,000 a year per applicant, right?
Yes, sir.
Is there a limitation on the number of applicants?
No, sir. The only limitation is going to be on the amount of money that's in the fund.
That was my next question. Have we decided how much money is in the pool yet?
So it could be up to $10 million, so the insurance companies will get a rebate off their insurance premium tax. So each one of them will pay into the fund, so it should be about $10 million a year. Of course, the first year it might not be that much because they're just setting it up.
Okay. So for applicant-wise, first come, first served?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I don't see any further questions, gentlemen.
Move final passage.
He moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 114 yeas, 2 nays, the bill passes. You have further work, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to go to item number 19, House Bill 1174. Call it up and make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed, read the third time, and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
Have a committee sub, Mr. Speaker.
Got a committee sub. He'd move to adopt for consideration in lieu of the original bill. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
I'd like to recognize the gentleman from Washington to explain the bill.
Gentleman from Washington is recognized to explain the committee sub.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, this is the Mississippi Public Adjusters Professional Standards Act. And basically what it does is strengthens the professional standards and accountability for public adjusters. It improves the claim process and provides a overview for consumer protection and financial integrity for the services of the policyholders. Inside the bill, in Section 2, it talks about the license requirement for individuals and businesses who are acting as independent adjusters, and it talks about the age requirement should be 18 years old, and it should be designated inside of the state of Mississippi. Section 3, it discusses the public adjusters should have a written contract with the insurer, and it defines the terms of the contracts. Section 4 discusses the communication and conflicts of interest between the public adjusters and the clients. Section 5 discusses the requirements for funding. So in other words, the money should be put in a trust, and they should have 2 to 4 days to discuss the amount of money that's been given to the beneficiaries. The fees, the public adjusters can charge 15% for non-catastrophic claims and 10% for catastrophic claims. Section 7 discusses what rules and regulations that the commissioner has if they can suspend, put on probation, or impose conditions for public adjusters up to 24 months. Section 8 talks about the administrative regulations for the public adjusters by the commissioner, and Section 9 brings all conforming language forward. That's an explanation of the bill, Mr. Speaker.
Questions on the bill? Gentleman from Harrison, Mr. Haney.
Yeah, gentleman yield?
I do.
I heard the age. You said 18 years old?
Yes.
Was there a previous age?
I was not aware of it being a previous age. I think 18 is what the industry requested.
I guess if I'm getting a adjuster to come to my roof damage or my house damage, I mean, I know young people are pretty bright, but I guess 18 years old working adjusting, is that there? You saying the folks okay with that, or they just train them? Will they be in the field by themselves? Do we know?
Well, gentlemen, let's look at this way. At your age and my age, would you climb up on a 2-story roof? An 18-year-old has the capabilities of getting up there a lot better than you and I do, and if either one of us fall, the damage is going to be maximum, not minimum. However, I do believe that these adjusters will fall up under the criteria of being somewhat of an apprentice model. They would have to have somebody have to report to and review their work.
I agree with that. Thank you, sir.
All right.
Gentleman from DeSoto, Mr. Eubanks.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will gentleman yield?
Sure, my friend.
I was curious, 2 questions. One of them, you said the industry came and wanted this, or was it like the Independent Adjusters Association? Or
I think it's a compromise between both entities, independent adjusters and the industry.
Okay, and then I saw there were caps in it for what they could charge for catastrophic losses and stuff like that. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Is that close to what the average is now, or was that something that was? I mean, those figures. I just didn't know where they came up with those figures.
I don't know where they came up with them either. I believe that this piece of legislation was a compromise between 2 entities. I think 15%. So if you got a $100,000 claim, 15% $15,000. If you got a $100,000 claim, 10% is $10,000. And so I don't think that those numbers are outrageous. I do believe that in order for those fees to be paid, the commissioner has the ability to look and review to make sure that they're not being overcharged.
Okay, thank you.
I don't see any further questions, gentlemen.
Final passage.
He moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 116 yeas, 0 nays, the bill passes. State Affairs further reiterates their request to retain its place on the calendar, item 20. Chairman of Gaming does the same. Got you, gentlemen. Asking it retain its place at item 21. There's State Affairs again at 22. The lady says yes. Brings us down to item 23, Public Health. Mr. Chairman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to go to item 23, House Bill 1262. Called up and make the usual motions, please.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed, read the third time, and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
I'd like to recognize the gentleman from IUCA to present the bill.
Gentleman from Tishomingo is recognized to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, I'd like to give you a description of House Bill 1262. This is a simple bill. What we're doing, if you're a military medic, a 68 whiskey in the Army, or you're an air medic in the air, or a Navy corpsman, and you have at least 2 years post-military experience in the medical field, you could sit and take the LPN test, the NCLEX. It does not say we give you a license. It says you can take the test with all these qualifications. If you pass it, you get a license. If you fail it, you don't get one. So pretty much, ladies and gentlemen, most of these medics have deployed numerous times. Most of them are working in the trauma system right now. They're just asking, could they take the LPN test? And if they pass it, they get their license. That's an explanation of the bill. I'll take any questions, Mr. Speaker.
Questions on the bill. Gentleman from Tallahatchie, Mr. Rosebud.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With the gentleman, you.
Certainly.
So what's the comparison to a medic, military medic, to a nurse?
To an LPN or an RN?
Yes, LPN.
Okay, so basically a military medic runs sick call. You know, they run sick call in the mornings. Most of them have combat medic experience, trained medics. They've all had multiple deployments in the last 3 or 4 years. We're getting the guys and the girls that are coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan, and we're trying to put them into the civilian world. If we truly have a nursing shortage, let's put our money where our mouth is and let these folks take the test and then go into the facilities and work.
Gentlemen, do you feel that it would be more equivalent to being like a paramedic as opposed to a nurse?
No, a paramedic has more advanced skills than an LPN. We're talking about IV therapy. We're talking about emergency medications. These folks would be more or less like your nursing in a nursing home, giving PO meds, IM meds, things like that. They would
like
be
a CNA?
No, a little bit more trained than a CNA. No, sir. Okay. You're going to be between a medic and a CNA. That's right.
Thank you.
Gentleman from Washington, Mr. Hines.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentleman, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Gentlemen, are you aware that UMC and a couple of other institutions have a program now? If you have a bachelor's degree in any area, you can go to school for 1 year and you become an LPN and you don't have to sit for the test. Were you aware of that? I'm
not aware of that. I just know this bill here that I presented is a great bill, and I believe you're standing beside the author of it or one of the authors of it right now.
Well, I'm in support of the bill.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
just saying to try to help you,
yes.
Because I've been pushing for military service to be, people be allowed to do this kind of stuff for a while.
Exactly.
So they're doing similar programs like this already in this state. Is that not correct?
That's correct. So you remember a couple years ago, sir, we done the CDL driver's license. If you were trusted to drive a 5-ton in the military, we would let you get your CDLs in civilian world. That's right.
Absolutely correct.
That's right.
And so most jobs in the military are parallel to jobs in civilian life. Would you not agree?
Exactly.
So this would open up the door for some of the shortfalls we're having in the area of nursing right now, wouldn't it?
That's exactly right.
All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Gentleman from Harrison, Mr. Hullum.
Oh,
Thank you,
boy.
Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
Gentlemen, this is an excellent bill. I am glad, I am ecstatic that we are standing up for what's right. Is there any way they can walk this bill back and go back from 2001 and everybody who served in combat with that skill be allowed to take this test, or to be the ones that's just coming out the military now?
No. If you have what this bill indicates, starting on line, let's go to line 30, read from 30 to 46, you qualify to sit and take the test. So if you're an Army medic and you are an Air Force airman and you're a Navy corpsman and you have 2 years experience in that field, you can sit and take the test. That we can't, I'm not for going back to 2001. No, let's take the bill we have at hand right now.
All right. Thank you. This is an excellent bill. Way to lean forward in the foxhole.
Thank you.
Gentleman from DeSoto, Mr. Hale.
Gentleman, you.
Yes.
I just want to get clarification. Is the military medics on the same level as the National Registry?
Most military medics go to Fort Sam for 1 year and they're eligible to take the National Registry for EMT Basic. That's right. Most of them have taken the registry test. They're not required to, but if they want to, they can.
And the one that do pass it can come back and take the LPN test, correct?
That's exactly right.
Good bill.
Gentleman from Hines, Mr. Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentlemen, you yield.
Yes.
Well, I do have one quick question and one statement. Thank you for this piece of legislation. My mother, who is a nurse, texted me and said this is a great bill.
Thank you.
So,
all right. Do what your mama says.
Yes, always. So, gentlemen, you mentioned in previous interrogation that it's 2 years in order for them to serve before they be able to take the test.
That's right. That's right. In line 30, help me out here. So written completion of exam, 2 years of clinical experience that involves patient direct patient care, may include trauma or emergency oriented care. So one of those two would let you sit and take the test.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Lady from DeSoto, Ms. Remack.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to ask for unanimous consent to change my vote on H.Bill 1174 from present to yes.
Is there objection? Change the lady's vote. Lady from Jones, Ms. Scott.
Oh, boy.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to be sure that y'all have this written right. On line 99 and 100, it says, or number 2 of this section and subsection 3. Is that still section 1? I just want to make sure that's still section 1, that they are being licensed, because we want them to be licensed.
Okay, council says it's not changing anything of current law. This is only changing lines of, where was I at there? Starting in line 29, so 29 through 46 is basically only the new language. That does not refer to any new language that you were asking about.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure that they would be licensed. Thank you.
I don't see any further questions, gentlemen.
Move final passage, Mr.
He
Speaker.
moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 117 yeas, 0 nays, the bill passes. Gentlemen, I believe you got the next item as well?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to call up item 24, House Bill 848, and make the usual motions.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered and engrossed, read a third time, and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. I believe you got a committee amendment, gentlemen?
Yes, sir.
You want to adopt the amendment now?
Yes, sir,
Or you want to
please.
explain it first and then we?
It adds a reverse repealer. That's the explanation of the amendment.
Questions on the reverse repealer? I was letting her get it up. I don't see any questions. Question occurs on the amendment 1. If you favor the amendment, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The ayes have it. Anything further on the?
Yes, sir.
You're recognized for further explanation of the bill. I got you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 848 proposes the creation of the Opioid Settlement Fund Committee. If you recall, the Attorney General has been in a lawsuit where they've sued opioid providers. The state's received $203 million or thereabouts since the settlement of the committee, and more money is to come. And what this fund does is creates a committee that will be able to handle that money and distribute it to people that need it. This is a very critical time for public health, and especially in the substance abuse in Mississippi. So this committee is a 15-member committee. It will have key officers in it from the governor, lieutenant governor, state health officer that will be part of this committee. The committee will award the grants for the Opioid Settlement Fund, and we put some criteria in there for drug education and prevention programs for schools, support for nonprofit chemical dependency centers, funding for drug courts, contributions to UMMC, and other relevant programs aligned with the settlement agreements. The Attorney General will administer the distribution of the funds, create the rules for the grants, and ensure compliance with settlement agreements. Also mandated is an annual financial report given to the legislature each year and the auditor detailing the fund distributions. That's an explanation of the bill, Mr. Speaker.
Questions on the bill? Gentleman from Hines, Mr. Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentleman yield.
Yes, sir.
I like a great bill, but a couple of questions. We received $40 million in opioids.
It's 203.
203.
And if I may, 15% of that will go to cities and counties, 15% goes to government, and then the 70% will be determined by this group right here.
Okay. Will there be any hearings held with respect to this group, this new formed group?
No, not in this bill.
I don't want to put an amendment in it, but I would like for hearings to be held on this. And the reason why I'm asking that is that the state of Mississippi received money for Narcan, which the Department of Health purchased and AG's office purchased to our law enforcement agencies. And there's an organization that has been charging us an extremely large amount of money for that Narcan. And I think we can get it at a reasonable rate than what we're paying now. So that's why I would like to have a hearing on all of the proceeds that are being spent, that they're actually have somebody looking at it.
Yes, sir. And of course, all these meetings will be open to the public, and you are a potential candidate to be a member of this committee, so I think it'll be great. And Narcan would apply here for some of this money to go to that, so
all right. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Lady from Lincoln, Ms. Curry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the gentleman yield?
Of course.
Just one question, because it just strikes me odd. Why are we giving all of our authority away to appropriate money?
Why are we giving it to this committee?
This group that's probably going to give it all to UMC.
Well, we specify that that some of it has to go to drug education. Some of it has to go to nonprofits. Some of it has to go to the drug courts. So it can't all go to UMC, and we put that in our committee amendment.
Maybe this is the way I need to ask a question. Who asked for it to be this way?
The Attorney General's office asked for it.
So why are we giving our authority to appropriate away again?
just, I won't ask,
Well-
I won't ask anymore.
Lady, I'd be fine if it all came to public health and we could appropriate it from there.
That's what I'm talking about.
Lady from Jones, Ms. Scott. You want to speak on the bill? Gentleman from Newton, Mr. Rushing.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentleman Yield.
Yes, sir.
Gentlemen, on the distribution, you said some were going to the counties and municipalities, is that?
In the original settlement, 15% of the $203 million that we have now, there's more to come, 15% goes to cities and counties that participated in the lawsuit.
Is there any restrictions that they can use that money for? Or is it just-
Opioid abatement is the only thing I know of it so anything toward that the cities and counties can. Well, opioid abatement applies to our 70%. I'm not sure about the cities and counties what they can use it for.
Well, that was just my curious. I just didn't know if there was any restrictions to our local government, so they would know what to do with it once they receive those funds.
They may can use it for whatever they want. I don't know.
If you could follow up on that, gentlemen, I'd appreciate it.
I'll find out.
Gentleman from Montgomery, Mr. Oliver.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For a question, please.
You're recognized.
Gentleman Yield.
Yes, sir.
Gentlemen, did we not do this long before you and I got here? Several members in the House may remember this. I know the gentleman from Forest will, but didn't we do this with tobacco settlement money? Did we not give that authority when that was settled to the Attorney General's office only to turn around and take it away from them and put it back where it needs to be, where the state's appropriating this money?
You're right, the first part of that question, that was before my time. I don't remember. I can assure you we'll be watching this money because this is something that so many Mississippians need right now. And I was corrected by the attorneys that after the committee makes their decisions, we still have to approve where the money's going out.
So you're saying that we're not giving up that appropriation authority?
We are not. Yes, you're not.
Okay, I'm just a little cautious. You know that old saying, you fool me once, shame on you. You fool me twice, shame on me. Thank you, gentlemen.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Gentleman from Madison, Mr. Blackman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentlemen, do you yield?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm going to be honest with you. I was not paying a whole lot of attention until you said that we were going to be giving 70% of $200 and something million to this committee to divvy up.
That was part of the settlement agreement. That's not an option. We receive the 70%. The legislature receives the 70%.
Okay, so that's not what this committee would be in charge of.
Yes, that's what the committee will be in charge of.
Okay. And so who would be on the committee again?
It's 15 members. The state health officer, sorry, gentlemen. The executive director of the State Board of Mental Health, the state health officer, the state superintendent of public education, administrative director of the Office of the Courts, the president of the Mississippi Municipal League, president of the Mississippi Association of Supervisors, president of the Mississippi Association of Police, president of the Mississippi Sheriff's Association, president of the Mississippi Fire Chiefs, chair of Public Health in the House and chair of Public Health in the Senate. That's it.
Okay. Hey, how many people was that again? That wasn't 15.
Sorry, I missed a few more on the first page. The governor gets an appointee, lieutenant governor gets an appointee, speaker of the House gets an appointee, and the attorney general gets an appointee.
Okay. And so would there be any other checks and balances on this committee and where they're sending the money?
We are. Once they make the recommendations, we'll have to approve it.
It'll still have to be approved?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That sounds good to me. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Gentleman from Forest, Mr. Watson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If the chairman will yield.
Yes, sir.
I think you have answered this, but you're saying that this opioid settlement fund committee would only make a recommendation as to the expended appropriation of money.
That is correct, yes, sir.
Okay. And is this a departure from the way that we have addressed these type of legal settlements in the past?
I assume so. I
You
know.
assume so?
Was the question, is this a departure?
Yeah,
Yes.
This is the departure. All right. Thank you, sir.
Gentleman from Hines, Mr. Brown.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Gentleman yield.
Yes, sir.
I did hear you say that representation would be from the Board of Supervisors. I did not hear you say, though, anybody from the Municipal League representing the various cities, and I just want to hear it. I didn't hear that, so I'm sure.
President of the Municipal League. Yes, sir.
President?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right, I don't see any further questions, gentlemen.
Final passage.
He moves final pass. I'm sorry, lady from Scott, Ms. Jones, has to speak on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, certainly we all are proud that we're able to get this $203 million, but I just want you to go to line 55 on the bill so that we can be clear as to what this bill does, because the gentleman from Hattiesburg, Mr. Watson, asked, would we have say so? What the bill says, and you all know what the law says is what it actually is, right? The bill says that an opioid settlement fund committee shall, not may, shall award grants annually from the opioid settlement fund. They shall. And you know how they shall do it? Is upon appropriation by this legislature. It doesn't say that now, you know, I guess, you know, you could vote it up or down, but you all know how we appropriate in here. Everything is done in a lump sum, is it not? So they just bring you a lump sum of stuff up here and all these different appropriations, which I don't know which bill this will come under, because it doesn't, which agency this will come under, because I don't see where it says here in the bill. But the bill plainly tells us that this committee shall award the funds. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the only thing that we have left over here is our ability to kind of appropriate. Because you know that the appropriations bills that come to you in lump sums. And most of us, do not know where monies are being spent. That's why we had a $200 million scandal here in this state. Because you got all these billion funds and all these people are over them, and then the bottom line is that the legislature, what we allow people to do. I'm asking you, ladies and gentlemen, we should have an opiate fund. It should come to this legislature. If you want to give this committee $2 million like we did in the tobacco settlement for the Attorney General to do whatever she wants to do that. But don't give them control of $203 million. We ought to have that ability to decide. And as the chairman says, it ought to go through the Public Health Committee that has jurisdiction over mental health, over the health department, over all of our teaching institutions. That's where, to me, that's where this jurisdiction should lie. So I'm asking you
to vote against this bill, and they'll go back to the Rules Committee and come back with something that will allow for the legislature to do what we're supposed to do, that the Constitution says that we're supposed to appropriate. So I would ask you to defeat this bill.
Chairman, wish to close.
Yes, sir. You said you were going to be gentle. Y'all, you've heard about the epidemic we're having in the state with drug abuse and substance abuse, and this is very important to get this done. I get the point the lady's trying to make, and this does have a reverse repealer in it. Let's keep this going down the process and get this committee, and we can work on that. But it's not something we need to kill and leave it up to the Senate or somebody else to do. This is something we need to do now and get this process going and get this committee or whatever it looks like done so we can get this money to the people that need it. I'm done.
He moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 72 yeas, 38 nays, the bill passes. Gentlemen, while you're at the well, I believe that concludes. Before we move to the next item, which I believe the lady from Madison is there for technology, we will go back to item 12, House Bill 1437. The gentleman from Pike raised a point of order that the committee sub for House Bill 1437 added code sections, now specifically 7315.9 and 7315.20 that were not included in the original House Bill 1437 and therefore not properly before the House. The chair finds that the gentleman's point of order is well taken. Therefore, the committee sub in and of itself would fall back and we would be back on the original bill on that issue. I would recognize you at this time.
Move to table the bill.
Gentleman's motion is to table. Lady from Hines, Ms. Yates, for what purpose? Okay, I got you. Those opposed have 5 minutes. I don't see anyone seeking recognition. In favor of the gentleman's motion indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The ayes have it. Thank you, gentlemen. All right. Lady, you had an introduction. Lady from Hines, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the South Gallery, if you'd help me make welcome the UMMC School of Medicine M1 Leadership Class, along with their professor, Mitzi Morris. Also in the gallery with them is the speaker's daughter, Sarah Burden.
Thank you, lady. Welcome to you students and advisors and Miss Anna Moat. Welcome. Good to have y'all here and see your state capitol and your legislators at work. Some of it's not pretty, but we're glad y'all are here to see it. Welcome. Appreciate you being engaged in this process and the fact that y'all are doing an elective on leadership because it is sorely lacking. We appreciate your commitment to that. Thank you. All right, I recognize the lady from Madison.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to call up item number 25, House Bill 1239, and make the usual motions.
Lady calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed, read the third time, and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized, lady.
I'd like to introduce the gentleman from Madison to present the bill.
Junior gentleman from Madison is recognized to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, House Bill 1239 is a very good bill, and it comes to us with a very strong recommendation and endorsement from our friends with the Mississippi Development Authority. It's very simple. The only thing that we are doing is amending Section 57-113-21 of the Mississippi Code of 1972 to include some certain terms, giving a definition to blockchain, business enterprise, data center, digital asset mining, and the purpose is to
give some clarity as to who is eligible for certain tax breaks under that code. That is my explanation of the bill.
Questions
Now
on the
open the
bill?
floor for any questions, please.
You don't have any takers, gentlemen. You did such a fine job explaining it, they have no questions.
Well, I'm sad to hear that, but let's open the roll and get a vote going.
Man wants to open the roll.
Let's open it up, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman from DeSoto, for what purpose? You may have a taker here, gentlemen.
Yeah, I did have just a quick question.
You're recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
I'm just curious if there's any protections in here for consumers, because we know that when you're Bitcoin mining or whatever type of crypto mining that you do, that it consumes an inordinate amount of power. Will the consumers have to shoulder any of that when they're given tax breaks and having to provide more energy, just like what we got with the data center that's coming in Madison? They're having to build new plants and all that. Is there any thought going into that and making sure that our ratepayers are protected from, fallout if something shouldn't materialize?
I think that is a very good question, gentlemen, and so I probably should have been a little bit more clear about this. In this bill, what we are saying specifically is that crypto miners are ineligible for the tax breaks that are provided for under this code section.
Okay, I'm sorry, I misunderstood then. Thank you.
Yes, sir. That's my fault.
I don't see any further questions, gentlemen. He moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 113 yeas, 2 nays, the bill passes.
Technology yields the floor.
Thank you, lady. Public utilities.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to go to item 26, House Bill 1088, and make the usual motions.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed, read the third time, and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. I see you got a committee sub, gentlemen.
Yes, sir. I'd like to take the committee sub in lieu of the bill.
Gentleman moves to adopt the committee sub for consideration in lieu of the original bill. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized to explain the committee sub.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, what this bill will do is allow cities and counties to with mutual agreement between the municipality and the county to buy a water association. Also gives them the ability to issue revenue bonds, provided such bonds are payable solely from the revenues generated from the waterworks system. It's just giving them the ability to buy water associations if both parties agree. And I have an amendment at the proper time.
You're recognized for your amendment.
Thank you. We put a reverse repealer in committee. We're just removing that reverse repealer because everybody seems to be on board.
Questions of the gentleman on the amendment? I see 2 folks seeking recognition otherwise. Questions on the amendment? I don't see any. If you favor the adoption of Amendment 1, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The ayes have it. We are now on the bill. You have further explanation, gentlemen?
No, sir, but I will take questions.
He yields for questions. Gentleman from Pearl River, Mr. Ladner.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentleman, you?
Yes, sir.
You said will allow counties or municipalities to purchase water systems, mutual agreement with the water association, water system.
Correct.
Everybody.
Everybody has to be on board to allow this, yes.
Perfect, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Gentleman from DeSoto, Mr. Eubanks.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
I've heard some horror stories about some of these outside groups that are purchasing water associations, and then they come in and they jack up the prices. This isn't going to allow the county or municipality to take over and then turn around and sell it to one of these groups, is it?
That's not the intent of this one. We have something with that one later, though.
Okay, good. All right, thanks.
I don't see any further questions, gentlemen.
Final passage.
He moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote 117 yeas, 0 nays, the bill passes. Next item, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. I'd like to go to House Bill 1211 and call it up and make the usual motions.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed, read the third time, and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You recognize, gentlemen, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This deletes the requirement for municipalities to hold an election before a franchise agreement can be approved. This is an old, outdated language. Most of your cities and counties are not doing this anyway. We're just trying to keep them in compliance by removing this. Explanation.
Questions on the bill? I don't see any, gentlemen.
Final passage.
He moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By vote of 116 yeas, 0 nays, the bill passes. Gentleman from Rankin, Mr. Yancey.
On the next item, I'd ask that we pass item 28 and ask that it retain its place on the calendar.
Thank you, gentlemen. We will do that. That brings us to item 29 and transportation. Gentleman from Benton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Go to item number 29, House Bill 150, and call it up, make a usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed read the third time and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed no. The ayes have it.
Call up the committee sub.
Gentleman moves to
original
adopt
bill.
the committee sub for consideration in lieu of the original bill. All in favor say aye. Opposed no. The ayes have it. You recognize, gentlemen, to explain the committee sub.
Recognize the gentleman from Lamar.
Gentlemen, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to bring up House Bill 150 today. It basically is a slight increase in the weight tolerances for the concrete industry and the solid waste industry. And it came at their request to be more competitive along our state lines. Alabama and Tennessee is at 66,000. Louisiana is at 69,000. So that's an explanation bill. I'll answer any questions.
Gentleman from Lawrence, Mr. Evans.
Thank you, Speaker. Gentleman yield.
Yes, sir.
Gentlemen, I couldn't help but hear you. Correct me if I'm wrong. You said slight increase?
Well, to 60,000 to 64,000.
Right, 60,000 to 64,000. That's about a 6.7% increase, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And the other section of the bill talks about, one of them talks about concrete trucks, go from 60 to 64. Section 4AI1 talks about concrete trucks also going to 72,000 pounds with 4 axles, right?
Correct.
Which is a 20% increase approximately. And it also, this bill does away with axle requirements on these concrete and basically garbage trucks, doesn't it?
Say that again, please.
The bill includes, the statute as it is now has axle requirements, certain amount of axles for a certain amount of weight.
Yes, sir.
This bill under subsection 4C says no axle spacing or tire loading requirements. Tire loading means obviously you have to have a certain size tire with the capacity to carry certain weights. So this is a drastic increase under the second section of the bill, isn't it, when you're talking about set from 60 to 72,000 pounds gross weight, and also with no axle requirements. The axle requirements being you have to have so many axles so far apart in order to spread out the weight over a bigger area, that's where one little area won't be bearing as much weight as it would if it was spread out over a larger area.
Gentlemen, on the 4-axle configuration, it basically increased all of it to 4,000 pounds. It was already 68 with the 4,000, our 4-axle configuration. Now it's 72. It was 60,000, and now it's 64 with the 3-axle configuration.
Right. What is a 72,000 pound number in your statute?
And also, the 4-axle is only applicable to the concrete trucks.
Excuse me, I didn't understand that.
I said the 4-axle configuration is only applicable to the concrete industry.
Concrete trucks?
Yes.
With the maximum weight limit of 72,000 pounds, right?
It moved from 68 to 72.
Okay. So another increase of 6 to 7%.
Yes, sir.
Has this been vetted by the...
It has. This came under the recommendation of Mississippi Department of Transportation. There was a compromise. The industry asked for 66,000 to increase to 66, and the compromise was made at the lead of the MDOT to go to 64.
So MDOT is okay with increasing weight limits on our highways that we have abysmally under spin on, if you want to call it that, across the state, yet the DOT is okay with increasing a weight limit? I'm not questioning you that they are. I just want to make sure that's what you just told me, that they are in fact okay with it.
Yes, sir, they are. They're the one that recommended the 64.
Okay, but you said it was a compromise. What was the higher compromise? What was the higher
the
number?
industry, like I said earlier, the industry asked for an increase to 66,000 pounds. And getting with the Department of Transportation, they recommend to go to 64,000.
Okay. So, okay, I got you. So our highways, the way they are, the shape our highways and bridges are in right now, which we know, I believe it was last year, we knew we had like 600 posted bridges, weight limit posted bridges, but the situation we have at our highways and bridges is good enough. It's abysmal, but it's good enough to let trucks, concrete trucks, carry more weight.
Yes, sir. We're trying to address that with HB1.
Trying to address what? Giving them more weight or fixing the highways?
Fixing the highways.
To fix the highways and you add more weight, that doesn't sound like that goes together to me.
Well, I mean, because most average weight is 68,000.
It might make it where you need to fix them more.
Most of your average road weights are 68,000, so we're not going over and above what we're already doing.
However much we're increasing it percentage-wise, we are increasing weights for these trucks, aren't we?
Yes, sir, we are. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Gentleman from Jones, Mr. Blackwell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The gentleman yield.
Yes, sir.
I heard some of that and his references to the interstates. What about our county roads and state aid roads? How much can they handle? Can they handle these extra weights without doing more damage?
According to the state aid division of the Department of Transportation, yes, sir, they can. They're the one to recommend the 64,000.
And what about supervisors? Did anybody talk to supervisors?
Yes, sir, they did.
They did?
Yes, sir.
They're okay with this?
As far as I know.
Thank you.
They didn't oppose it.
I don't see any further questions, gentlemen.
Move to final passage.
He moves final passage. Open machine, Madam Clerk. In favor of the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 90 yeas, 15 nays, the bill passes. Corrections. Lady from Lincoln.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to call up House Bill 30, Item 30, House Bill 188, and ask for the committee sub.
Lady will first advance the usual motion.
Okay, usual motion.
Thank you. Lady calls the bills up, moves the rules be suspended. The bill considered engrossed, read the third time, and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The lady further moves to adopt the committee sub for consideration in lieu of the original bill. All in favor of that indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized, lady.
I'd ask the gentleman from Rankin to explain the bill.
Gentleman from Rankin is recognized to explain the committee sub.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Madam Chairman. This is This is the same bill that we passed last year, although it does not have the parts in it about the colleges and all that stuff. This deals strictly with prisons, and what the bill does is it prevents men from being placed in cells and being placed in the same buildings with women in any jail. It specifically defines men and women, and it just makes sure that men are not placed in the cells or in the facilities with women. There is a part in here where men are allowed to go into women's jails for purpose of cleaning or for the purpose of maintenance, and that's an explanation of the bill.
Questions on the bill? I don't see any, gentlemen.
Final passage.
He moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. In favor of the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 103 yeas, 4 nays, the bill passes. Next item, lady.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to go to item 31, House Bill 317, and ask for the usual motion.
Lady calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed, read the third time, and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized, lady.
Thank you. I'd ask the gentleman from Bolivar to explain the bill.
Gentleman from Bolivar is recognized to explain the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. House Bill 317 is a great bill, I think, that came before us, ladies and gentlemen. This particular bill is a bill that gives the inmate a chance to come and have an opportunity to earn credits. An offender who's on probation may be awarded and earn discharge credits if he or she participates in faith-based activities, and the commissioner will have to establish the rules and regulations for implementing an earned discharge program. But it allows the offender on probation and parole to reduce the period of supervision in complying with his probation. And this will go into effect no later than July 1 of 2025 if they meet the criteria. So this is another great start in transformation and making sure that our offenders are making progress inside our correction facility. And that's an explanation of the bill, Mr. Speaker.
Questions on the bill? I don't see any, gentlemen. You move final passage. He moves final passage. Open machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 115 yeas, 0 nays, the bill passes. Next item, lady.
Thank you. I'd like to go to item 32, House Bill 658, and make the usual motion.
Lady calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed, read the third time, and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized, lady.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill is, I hate to say a simple bill, but it is. If the inmate is using raw cleaning chemicals and you're supposed to use the right equipment, would be face mask, a gown, whatever, gloves, whatever they're supposed to do to protect themselves. This is just saying that the Department of Corrections shall provide that equipment. And that's my explanation of the bill.
Questions of the lady on the bill? I don't see any, lady.
Final passage.
She moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 115 yeas, 0 nays, the bill passes. Next item, lady.
Yes, sir. Okay, I'm going to explain the next bill. I'm sorry. I thought someone else was, but I think they're sick with the crud. I apologize. I'd like to call up House Bill 1476, item 33, and make the usual motion.
Lady calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended. The bill considered engrossed, read the third time, and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm real excited about this bill. I really have gotten into the workforce. If you have 3 years left on your sentence, if you have not committed a violent crime or been a sex offender, we want to be able to help you to get into the workforce before you're released. It doesn't say this in here, but I'm going to tell you guys, Milwaukee Tools came to us and talked about the women's correctional facility in the Delta. And they asked me for 400 inmates. And in talking to the commissioner of MDOC, they're going to open a building that's been closed just for the inmates that are going to this job. That way, I can't do as many as they would like. We're going to start with 100 because after they get up and go to work, they'll have to be searched before they come back in. But in this building, they will not be, they will not go into general population at all. So if anything goes on outside and they're bringing anything in, they do not go into general population. If they commit any kind of a crime or have a problem, they will not. I had a printout I would have loved to have given y'all, and I'll put it on your desk for tomorrow. But it shows you the 75 people that have already been through this program and the amount of money they have in their checking account. So when they get out, they'll be able to buy a car, not a fancy car, be able to have an apartment. They'll have all their fines and fees paid. They've been paying child support, restitution. They will have all of this paid and a job when they get out. Milwaukee Tools has said, we want you to have this job when you get out. So in this program of the people that we've had it so far, the recidivism rate is 2%. If we don't do this and help them, our recidivism rate is 77%. So I just wanted to ask your support for this bill. I think it's a great bill, especially for our women's correctional facility. They don't get these kind of chances. And that's my explanation of the bill.
Questions on the bill? Gentleman from Hines, Mr. Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentlelady, you yield.
Yes, sir.
You said that Milwaukee Tools asked you for 400 inmates?
They asked for that, but I'm going to have to start with 100. I can't do 400 at one time.
So where are you holding these 100 people?
I'm sorry?
Where are you holding these 100 people?
These are in Greenwood, Mississippi at the Women's Delta Correctional Facility.
Okay. Now, has there been any talk of having these individuals' rights restored to vote if that fits in the program?
You're going to have to say that again. I'm not hearing you.
Has there been any consideration to allow these individuals to have their rights to vote?
No, that's not what this bill is about. I just want to get them to work.
No, I understand that, but my question is, has there been any consideration of having that included, not respectfully in this bill, but period, for these individuals who have served their time and be able to vote again, who are eligible?
I have not done that. I understand that Judd B. is doing that.
All right. Well,
but
please,
it's not in this bill.
Well, please consider that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gentleman from Holmes, Mr. Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the chair lady yield?
Yes, sir.
Chair lady, is there anything in the bill that speaks to the prevailing wage for these young ladies?
They have to be paid the exact wage that they would pay anybody else that came in.
Okay. Thank you, lady.
Yes, sir.
I don't see any further questions, lady.
Final passage.
She moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By vote 118 yeas, 0 nays, the bill passes. Chairman of Marine Resources. You're recognized, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to call up item 34, House Bill 602, and make usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended. The bill considered engrossed read the third time and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir. What this is the Mississippi Seafood Labeling Bill. It's a basic mirror image of what the catfish bill is in Mississippi. What we're trying to do is protect the consumers as well as tourists within the state of Mississippi to know exactly what you're purchasing when you purchase it from a wholesaler, retailer, seafood market, or restaurant, that you know what you're getting when you purchase and what country it is from. So basically we would require those that I just listed to have a placard or signage or something as we do the catfish that would recognize if it's a foreign or domestic seafood that they're selling at that time. That's an explanation of the bill, Mr. Speaker.
Questions on the bill? I don't see any, gentlemen.
Final passage.
He moves final passage. Open machine, Madam Clerk. Favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By vote 116 yeas, 0 nays, the bill passes. Next item, Mr. Chairman.
Item 35, House Bill 660, make a usual motions, Mr.
Gentleman
Speaker.
calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended. The bill considered engrossed read the third time and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized.
Gentleman from Harrison will explain the bill.
Gentleman from Harrison is recognized to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, House Bill 660, what we're doing is coming in line with the wildlife, fisheries, and parks. And what we're saying in this bill, we want to exempt the information from public records of anyone who holds a seafood license, but to protect the people and their information from being used or sued erroneously in the state of Mississippi, with the exception of the Director of Department of Resources and Director of Marine Resources and law enforcement can receive that information. That's the explanation of the bill, Mr. Speaker.
Questions on the bill? Gentleman from Copiah, Mr. Holloway. He passes. I don't see any questions, gentlemen.
Move for final passage, Mr.
He
Speaker.
moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By vote 114 yeas, 1 nay, the bill passes.
Thank you.
Anything further, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to skip item 6 and retain its place on item 36, House Bill 661, and retain its place on the calendar.
All right, we will do that.
And I would like to call up item 37, House Bill 1258, make a usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended. The bill considered engrossed read the third time and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized, gentlemen.
Gentleman from Jackson will be handling the bill.
Junior gentleman from Jackson is recognized to explain the bill. I guess we're going to make boats pink now. What are we doing, gentlemen?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill, the Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks manages the boat registration system for the state of Mississippi. The United States Coast Guard helps supplement that through federal grants. This bill updates that language to mirror the federal regulations, and that's an explanation of the bill.
Questions on the bill? Gentleman from Choctaw, Mr. Hood.
Does the gentleman yield?
I do.
Are there anything about the release of balloons into the Gulf of Mexico in this bill?
There's not, but we do need to address that point, gentlemen.
Thank you, gentlemen.
I've got a good bill on that.
I don't see any further questions, gentlemen.
Move final passage.
He moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote 117 yeas, 0 nays, the bill passes. Anything further, Mr. Chairman?
Yield the floor.
All right, that brings us to banking. Chairman of Banking, gentleman from Lee, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to bring up House Bill 1325 and make the usual motions.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed, read the third time, and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized.
Yeah, I'd like to recognize the gentleman from Rankin to handle the bill.
And gentlemen, I believe you've got a committee sub. Are we going to take up the committee sub?
Yes, sir.
Gentleman moves to
do that
adopt
now.
the committee sub for consideration in lieu of the original bill. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The gentleman's recognized to explain the committee sub. Junior gentleman from Rankin, that is.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Chair. This bill is we passed it last year. We're going to kind of go back through it real quick. It just says that Bill number 1325, it says to revise the interval of time for publishing notice of the acceptance of bids from financial institutions to serve as the county depository whenever the Board of Supervisors designates the depository during the board members' last year of their term of office and for related purposes. Basically, this is getting the cities and the counties on the same page. Right now, the cities are on 4-year, and this will make the counties on 4-year as well. So that's basically the bill, Mr. Speaker.
Questions on the bill? I don't see any, gentlemen.
All right, final passage.
He moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote 117 yeas, 0 nays, the bill passes. Workforce. Gentleman from Itawamba.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to call up item number 39, House Bill number 302, and make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed, read the third time, and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized, gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen of the body, this bill requires the SWIB Board to create a list of certified industry certifications for K-12 and the community college, and that's an explanation of the bill.
Questions on the bill? I don't see any, gentlemen.
Move final passage.
He moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 116 yeas, 0 nays, the bill passes. Next item, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Item 40, House Bill 1412. I'd like to call that bill up and make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed, read the third time, and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized, gentlemen, to explain the bill.
Mr. Speaker, I ask that you recognize the gentleman from Georgia to handle the bill.
Gentleman from Georgia is recognized to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 1412 is for the Workforce Development Committee to pilot a workforce dual enrollment. And what this is, it's going to be target areas for the where they find a priority sector strategy to have a grant program for the dual credit. And that's the explanation of the bill.
Questions on the bill? I don't see any, gentlemen.
Move to final passage.
He moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. In favor of the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 117 yeas, 0 nays, the bill passes. Next item, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to call up item 41, House Bill 1414.
All right, do you make the usual motion?
And make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed, read the third time, and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized, gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen of the body, this bill is just simply a cleanup language. It removes the community college board from the payment section to insert the Office of Workforce Development. And I have an amendment at the proper time, Mr. Speaker.
All right.
The amendment just changed the word from Department of Employment Security and inserts the Office of Workforce Development.
Questions on the amendment? I don't see any. Question occurs on the adoption of Amendment 1. If you favor the amendment, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Amendment's adopted. Anything further on the bill?
Final. I've already covered it, Mr. Speaker. Final passage.
Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Everyone voted. Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 117 yeas, 0 nays, the bill passes. Next item, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Item 42, House Bill number 1555, and make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended. The bill considered engrossed, read the third time, and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized to explain the bill.
Mr. Speaker, I ask that you recognize the gentleman from Georgia to handle the bill.
Gentleman from Georgia is recognized to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Speaker, House Bill 1555 is developing the Curriculum Alignment Task Force, which is a task force that will be charged with basically aligning curriculum for post-secondary levels and secondary so the best interests of the students are met. That's the explanation of the bill.
Questions on the bill? I don't see any, gentlemen.
Move to final passage.
He moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 116 yeas, 0 nays, the bill passes. Next item.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Item 43, House Bill 1556. I'd like to call that up and make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended. The bill considered engrossed, read the third time, and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized, gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen of the body, this bill will look at doing tuition for high-demand CTE programs across the state at the community college level, and just a last dollar in program. And Mr. Speaker, I have an amendment at the proper time.
All right. You want to offer your amendment?
Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, this just inserts that it has to be a full-time student enrolled, and it has to be within 12 months of completing their high school education. And that's an explanation of the amendment.
Questions on the amendment? Gentleman from Hines, Mr. Brown, you got a question on the bill?
On the bill.
All right. I don't see any questions on the amendment. Question occurs on the adoption of Amendment 1. If you favor the amendment, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment's adopted. Now, interrogation. Anything further on the bill, gentlemen?
Final passage, if no questions.
All right. You've got questions. Gentleman from Hines, Mr. Brown.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Gentleman Yield?
Yes.
I have been constantly beating my brains out trying to get someone to adopt the community worksite development experts to help us administer these programs, and I'm just wondering, are we exclusively using the junior colleges again for this particular training and not the workforce development organizations that's in the community? We have some very good ones out there, and they are starved to death because they don't get any consideration.
Gentlemen, the will of this body and control of have made the community college the primary training force in this state.
Well, I know that, but I'm saying, couldn't we expand that to community organizations as well?
Gentlemen, again, that with the limited resources that we have and the money that we've already invested in the community college system,
with the equipment needs and stuff to do the type training we're doing now. Most of those organizations do not meet that criteria.
Gentleman from DeSoto, Mr. Eubanks.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will gentleman yield?
Yes.
Is there any kind of requirement that if we give them tuition-free training that they stay in the state, that it's like we do with the nurses and the teachers and I know.
Yes, that's included in the bill.
Okay, thank you.
Gentleman from Copiah, Mr. Holloway.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentleman Yale.
Yes.
Gentlemen, now, what exactly are you trying to address in this bill? What is the problem? Is it a workforce shortage or something?
Absolutely, gentlemen. There is a tremendous shortage of workers in certain fields within the state of Mississippi, and this is to incentivize those students and the community college to fill those positions.
So is this a temporary condition or is this a permanent thing?
This is hopefully a permanent position.
Okay, so what happens when you catch up?
Then we'll reevaluate. And gentlemen, really, there are so many jobs out there that are such high demand and students are just not enrolling in those programs. We're hoping this will facilitate that.
So is there a repeal in this bill?
No.
Why?
Just don't have one in it, gentlemen.
I see that, but I'm saying why don't we? You don't think it's necessary is what you're saying?
Well, we're just working it through the process right now, gentlemen.
That's what I'm asking you. That's a question I'm asking.
Well,
so once we work through the process, I'm saying.
The Senate has a total different bill, gentlemen, is my understanding, and we will merge those bills at some point. So we are just working it through the process.
So how in these specific fields, how short are we?
Well, it just depends on different sections of the state and different positions, and that's what's neat about the whole program. All of this is sort of lining up with a workforce agenda for the state, and this is just a piece of that puzzle.
I like your bill. I'm just trying to figure out, is this the only portion of the workforce that we're having a shortage in?
Well, it's in this bill covers all high-demand CTE projects, just sort of career technical education projects. It's not academic, it is just strictly CTE.
Okay, thank you.
So it may be carpentry in one location, it may be industrial maintenance in another one, it may be advanced manufacturing in another one, and electrical in another part of the state. So it varies based on those sector strategies.
Thank you.
Gentleman from Jones, Mr. Blackwell.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. The gentleman yield?
Yes.
So, where's the money coming from for this?
It'll have to be appropriated. It hadn't been at this time.
Be appropriated. Is there an amount?
The best number that I've gotten from LBO is roughly $3 million.
And so, who gets this? I understand that it's different around the state as to need. Who will be eligible for this? What are the criteria for applying for this?
The community colleges, all students that apply to that community college for these high-demand CTE jobs, and it will be based on the cost at each community college, so it could vary a little bit depending on their cost.
So any kid that's going into any of these programs, these needed programs, can apply for it?
Yes, and it's the last dollar in. It's after all Pell Grants, scholarships, after all of that is through, this will be the last dollars. If they don't have the money to pay for it, then this fund will be used.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Gentleman from Washington, Mr. Hines.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentleman, yeah?
Yes.
You caught my attention just there at the end. So who will
keep track of the money and the amount each student receives, since you say it goes in at the end? So will peer keep it? Will the school board, who gonna track the amount of money each student gets?
The community college will turn that in to the Office of Workforce.
Say again?
The Office of Workforce.
So they would be able to give us a report on how many students Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College paid for, how many East Mississippi. So we'd be able to get an accounting of each dollar that's being spent and where.
Yes.
Okay.
Each year. It's an annual report.
Gentleman from Prentice, Mr. Turner.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the gentleman yield?
Yes.
Gentlemen, you and I both are fortunate enough we have 2 community colleges that has tuition guarantee already. How will this affect them?
We're hoping that this money, then the local dollars can be used for something else if they choose to use this program.
But they can participate in this as well?
Yes.
Thank you.
Gentleman from Jefferson, Mr. Harness.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the gentleman yield?
Yes.
2 questions, gentlemen. Do you already have a list of industry that's going to participate in this program? Are there any, are industries already lined up to participate in this program?
Not as far as the industries, but I know the Office of Workforce is developing sector strategies where those needs are in those areas, working with those companies, saying if these people obtain this certification or this degree, they will hire them, or there are jobs available.
Okay. And one more question, sir. In this bill, I think there's a requirement that the student work in Mississippi. Okay?
Yes.
And if they do not work in Mississippi, I'm assuming that they're going to have to pay the money back.
There will be callback. There's callbacks in it that they'll have to pay that money back. Yes, sir.
All right, thank you, gentlemen.
I don't see any further questions, gentlemen.
Move final passage.
He moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 113 yeas, 2 nays, the bill passes. We are back down to education. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If we could go to number 44, House Bill number 1522, and make the usual motions.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed, read the 3rd time, and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized, gentlemen.
Mr. Speaker, I'd ask that the gentleman from Pearl River be recognized.
Gentleman from Pearl River is recognized to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 1522 would simply allow school districts, as seniors are graduating from high school, it would allow those districts to sell their personal computer devices to those graduating seniors for residual value. That's a short explanation of the bill, and I will yield for any questions.
Questions on the bill. Gentleman from Bolivar, Mr. Sanders.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentlemen, yield.
Yes, sir.
I just got one quick question. If they sell those devices to a graduating senior, what will they do in their school term as far as replacing them? How will they be replaced?
They'll have to replace them through us, like we appropriate every year for devices.
Okay.
They're going to be replaced with a new one anyways. Each student will get a new one anyways.
Yeah.
Because we don't reuse those devices.
Okay. Thank you.
Lady from Jones, for what purpose?
I'd like to ask him a question, Mr. Speaker.
You're recognized.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Chairman, will you yield?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, Mr. Chairman, don't we give guns free to the officers that have served when they retire?
in the state of Mississippi. Don't we give them those thousands of dollars of guns free to them?
Yes.
Well, can you explain to me, because we know that the computers have depreciated in value. If we were willing to give guns away, why would we not just give these seniors these computers and let them go on and use them?
That's just not happening.
So we give guns away,
Yes,
but we
ma'am.
won't give computers to students,
To retiring. Yes,
graduating students that's trying to better themselves.
If I recall correctly, the current law does allow the districts to, let me consult with council to make sure. This is a little quagmire.
Like the gentleman said, the legislature can do anything. That's what he said a while ago. That's what he said.
Yes, ma'am. It's $1 right now if they graduate and go to college. It's $75 if they don't graduate and go to college. The problem is, though, districts are not taking advantage of this option because they're losing too much money. They feel like they're not able to make it up. So we're giving them some discretion as to what to charge, if anything, to these students.
Well, let me ask you this, gentleman, because you're aware of how the education dollars are being spent. Aren't the enhancement funds, isn't that what schools get to buy their computers?
No, ma'am.
Well, what do they get their monies to buy their equipment with for students?
For the past couple of,
if not education enhancement.
if I recall correctly, over the last few years, we've appropriated it directly through using CARES Act money.
Well, I know about that, but I'm talking about going, because we hadn't had CARES money in years. So now, would those dollars not come out of education enhancement?
They may have the discretion to do that, but it's not specifically designated for anything.
Okay, so your bill is saying to the local districts, sell the computers to the children. And how much did you say we selling them to them for?
It's residual value. It's being changed to residual value.
Well, would you be amenable to an amendment, since we're allowing them to do this, to let's just set it at $25?
No, ma'am. I'll work with you through the process, but I'm not amenable to an amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to speak on this, Mr. Speaker, at the proper time.
You're recognized to speak at the proper time. We got one more question, I believe, lady. Gentleman from Hines, Mr. Banks.
Thank you, sir. Gentlemen, would you yield for a friendly question or two, please?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I like your concept. I like your bill. I do have a question about this program. The computer devices that will be sold to these students, will they be sold just as the hardware, or will they also get the computer device without being ghosted like our computers are here? Can you tell me that? I mean, will they just have a computer with, they can't do nothing, or they going to have the work where they can take it on to college or community college? Can you find out that for me if you don't know?
I know. It'll be open for them to utilize how they want. The district will give up their control over the device.
Okay, because I don't want them to just see an old computer, they can't do anything with it, and they got to buy a computer program like we have to do here and pay all this money because it's been ghosted and everything else.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Lady from Hines, Ms. Washington.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, ma'am.
So currently now in school districts, they already charge if the device is damaged, they lose the adapter, or if anything happens in the school district, they recoup those funds too. So these funds that we're going to make into law, the district will, that funding will go to the district. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, ma'am.
And the district will devise whatever, for example, the district I represent, child loses a computer, it is $200 to $300 if it's damaged, and they do something to it. If the screen is messed up, it's $40. If they lose the battery, it's $40. So will the district define what the fee will be?
Residual value, yes, the district will determine that.
Okay, thank you.
Gentleman from Forest, Mr. Watson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If the chairman would yield.
Yes, sir.
Now, you would agree with me that the legislature has the authority to make these computers available to the students at no charge?
I would agree.
Okay. It just takes a higher vote than what's on the board right now.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
All right, I don't see any further questions. I recognize the lady from Scott to speak on the bill. Lady from Jones, Miss Scott, to speak on the bill.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. I just want to say to the House, because we have a lot of students who would not be able to have computers had not the CARES Act provided computers for them, because we never sought to do that with education enhancement funds. But since then, we have started to provide computers districts have for students. My question to us members is, we have voted to give every law enforcement individual who retires in this state their weapon that they had when they served the state. Somebody every year when we would do it, they'd ask the question, how much do they think this gun would be worth? Some people say $1,200, some people say $1,500, all amounts of monies that these guns were worth. But we know that these computers, because the gentleman from Hines just made the point, these computers will be ghosted. They won't be worth anything. And in order for these students to make them viable, they're going to have to buy everything that's necessary, Word, Google app, all the things that they have to make the computer work. It would seem to me that we would want to allow these children an opportunity to have the computers for little or nothing, $1, $5, $10, and then they could take the monies that, whatever monies that they had, they could use those dollars to try and get the computer up to speed so that they would be able to use it. Now, I know that y'all are going to vote to charge these children. I know you're going to do that. And I think we've given guns to everybody. I don't think there's anybody left. But if there's somebody left and you decide to do that, you know I'm coming up here to remind you that you gave guns away, $1,200, $1,500, $2,000 guns, but you wouldn't give these little children, see these little children right here, they won't give you a computer. So just think about that when you take this vote. We could maybe hold it on a motion to reconsider, but you know when they say work through the process, you know what that means. These children will be paying for a ghosted computer, costing them all kinds of money, and for a poor child, $400 or $500 investment to get the laptop, you know, the folks will try to pay it. But we could give it to them just like we give, I voted to give the law enforcement, so you can't say I didn't do that. I voted to give them a gun. And I'm asking you to defeat this so that we can give children computers that we know are ghosted, but give it to them so the family members will be able to bring those computers back up to speed and the children will be able to use them.
Gentleman from Adams, for what purpose?
I had a question of the lady or the chairman. It doesn't matter. The chairman can answer. I want to make sure I understood you earlier. Is the law now that the school district could charge $1 or $75, and now we're giving them discretion to charge more if they have to?
Yes, and we're doing that because right now the districts aren't
aren't even opting to go that direction. So no computers are going out throughout the state to these students at all.
Okay.
The point of this bill is to do exactly what the lady wants to do, help all the little children and get the computers to the children.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. In response to the lady's lecture on helping the kids, the whole point of this bill is to make sure that kids are more likely to take their computers with them when they graduate high school. Right now, they're not. This would give the districts leeway to do that. Mr. Speaker, I move for final passage if there are no further questions.
Gentleman from Madison, Mr. Blackman, for what purpose?
Friendly interrogation, please.
If the gentleman will yield.
Will the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, gentlemen. And I may have missed this. Who is paying for the computers now? I mean, the counties have them. Where are they getting the money from for the computers now?
They're getting the money for the computers through us or through their local funds.
And you said they're not allowing the students to buy them now because they're not able to sell them for enough money?
Correct.
And they want to be able to sell them for more money. And
if they're going to exercise that option, yes.
Okay. And is there a cap on how much they can charge?
It says residual value.
Who determines that?
The school district.
So basically they can charge what they want?
Yes. Which last week everybody wanted the school district to have discretion.
I'll be honest, I was for the bill at first, but when the gentle lady came and she has convinced me that I probably shouldn't be for that, because I also don't understand why they need to sell them for more than $75. I think for a used computer, I think that's plenty enough money. Do we know the brands of these computers?
It varies by district.
Okay.
Some are Apple, some are Dell.
I would like to see an amendment that would allow us to continue to put a cap of $75 on these used computers for the benefit of the kids.
Are you going to force the districts to sell them? Because that's the problem right now.
And so I guess what I'm hearing is that they just have the computers. They're not making any money off of them now because they're saying that they can't make enough money. And so
they're saying that they feel like they're losing money and wasting money, where they could take the option and maybe refurbish or recycle them to new students and save some money. Right now, they're using their discretion and not selling them. They'd rather try to recycle them or refurbish them for newer students coming up instead of letting the seniors take them with them.
Yeah, I don't like it. I'm sorry. Thank you.
No offense to me.
Gentleman from Hines, Mr. Bell, for what purpose?
Friendly question.
It's up to the gentleman at the well.
Yes, sir.
I know we've had this debate for about 5 or 10 minutes now, but can you clarify for just one last time, what are they doing with the current computers now?
So right now, if you graduate from high school, the law says the district may sell those computers to the student between $1 and $75. Well, because the district feels like they're going to be losing money, instead they're just refurbishing them for older students. They're taking them, deleting it, reusing them, and now that senior doesn't have a computer because the district feels like, okay, we're losing money by selling this computer for $75. It's better for us to just reuse it. Districts don't have to sell it all right now. They can exercise their option not to sell.
All right, thank you.
Gentleman from Washington, Mr. Bailey.
Gentlemen, I know I've been out of school a long time. I'm kind of confused. I heard you say right now they can sell, the price can be from $1 up to $75.
Yes.
Is that right?
Correct.
So now the bill said we're going to give them the option to sell a residual value. So if the residual value is $1, they can sell that computer for $1, can't they?
If that's the residual value, yes, sir.
So the only thing you're saying not to put a limit in there, but to allow them to sell for the residual value, and that determination will be made by the school district.
Yes, sir. We want to make it worth to the districts to sell it to these seniors and not just pass them down to other grades.
And if they decide to do so and set a price, setting the residual value at $1, they could do it right now.
Yes, sir.
But the residual value is the language that you're trying to put into the bill.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I don't see anything wrong with that.
Please restate, gentlemen.
Turn my mic back on now.
You're back. You're on.
I said, I don't think there's nothing wrong with that, other than giving them away, and I'm gonna hold the bill, ask this bill to be held on a motion to reconsider after we vote on it, so that this lady or somebody can offer an amendment if they bring it back up. Let's give these computers away, and we can solve that problem. Thank you.
All right, I don't see any further questions. I see no one else seeking recognition, gentlemen.
Final passage.
He moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 95 yeas, 19 nays, the bill passes. Next item, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Speaker, if we could skip number 45, House Bill number 527, and retain its spot. We have an amendment that we need to make, and it's not ready yet.
We will do that, gentlemen. Thank you.
And that's all I have for the moment.
All right, we're back down to Judd A. I'm sorry, gentleman from Washington, Mr. Bailey.
Yes, I want to hold that bill on a motion to reconsider.
Thank you, gentlemen. We will do that.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Item 46, House Bill 1473. I'd like to call it up, make the usual motions.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended. The bill considered engrossed, read a third time, and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to recognize the junior gentleman from Hines to handle the bill.
Gentleman from Hines is recognized to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, House Bill 1473 would just amend one of our code sections where an individual who has satisfied their mortgage or deed of trust, the clerk of the Chancery Clerk will notice them if they have any outstanding ad valorem taxes. So currently, there is no uniform process in our state that would govern this. This would just codify into law that every county would have their Chancery Clerk notify their tax collector so that the homeowner will know if they have any outstanding taxes. And that's a brief explanation of the bill.
Questions on the bill? Gentleman from Prentice, Mr. Turner.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
Will this apply as well to land transactions? When someone transactions the land, that a purchaser purchases land, will this all come up the same way as this is?
Yes, sir. So that would be upon satisfaction of that deed of trust.
Okay. Thank you.
I don't see any further questions, gentlemen.
Move for final passage.
He moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 117 yeas, 0 nays, the bill passes. Next item, tourism. Gentleman from Harrison, Mr. Haney.
Mr. Speaker, request skip that item and hold its place on the counter.
You're not sure if you're for the Gospel Music Commission, gentlemen, or?
I'm for it. I'm for it, but we'll handle it tomorrow. I'm working on a song.
We're not promised tomorrow. You know that, don't you, gentlemen? All right, gentleman's requested to skip it and hold its place. Brings us down to Business and Commerce Committee, and the gentleman from Rankin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to go to item 48, House Bill 1154. Move the rules be suspended, that the bill be considered engrossed, read the third time, and placed on final passage.
That's the gentleman's motion. If you favor the gentleman's motion, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no.
I'd like to.
The ayes have it. You're recognized to explain the bill, gentlemen.
I'd like to recognize the other junior gentleman from Hines to explain the bill.
Gentleman from Hines is recognized to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 1154 is a bill to modernize the notary laws in the state. This would allow remote online notarization, so you could do it virtually. The Secretary of State would be responsible for setting up the rules behind that. But we did this in COVID under a executive order, and it worked well then, so we're just bringing that forward today. And that's a brief explanation of the bill. And I'll yield for any questions.
Questions on the bill? Gentleman from Pearl River, Mr. Owen.
Thank you. Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
Are out-of-state notaries allowed to utilize this service?
This is only for in-state notaries.
Only in-state notaries. Okay. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Gentleman from Harrison, Mr. Hullum.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
Gentlemen, so this bill, if it's, when it's passed, it's going to become permanent, right? This is the same bill we took up last year that got kicked back.
I'm not sure if it's the same bill, but it would become permanent if we pass it today.
Okay, thank you. Great
job.
Sir.
Gentleman from Choctaw, Mr. Hood.
Gentlemen yield?
Yes, sir.
Gentlemen, how are you going to confirm that someone is in this state when they do the online notary?
We probably could use the same process that we hope to use for online vetting and geofence the state.
Can you explain that process, please?
When you can geofence, just like when you do marketing, let's say you go in Bass Pro Shop today, you're going to get served a Bass Tracker ad tomorrow. It knows where your device is located.
Okay, and so is it going to record the transaction? Because if something comes up with regard to that transaction at a later date, will there be some type of evidence of it, or just that it was your device notarized this in a certain location?
No, this is a great bill in the fact that it actually records the person, so you'll have a video record of it. So now when you go to a court, like I have a notary in my office, she could be asked to go back 4 years and try to remember if she actually notarized something. This will record, when you record it, it's stored, and the Secretary of State will set up how it's stored. Like major institutions may have their own ways to record it, like banks, but each notary that does mobile, they're not required to, would have to be able to store it.
What is the penalty if they don't store it?
I'll have to find out.
Gentleman from Covington, while they're looking at that, did you have a request of the chair? On your coming up items? Thank you, gentlemen. We will do that.
We're not aware of a penalty, but the Secretary of State would be responsible for setting up the guidelines. Representative Hood needs his microphone back on. There you go.
So you're telling this body that there's no penalty in this bill if someone notarizes a document that later turns out to be fraudulent?
It appears that way.
So you think there could be some individuals in the state of Mississippi that could be defrauded and they wouldn't have any recourse?
I think there's always an opportunity to fraud.
You think we might ought to look at this bill just a little bit further, gentlemen, as we work it through the process?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Gentleman from Forest, Mr. Watson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If the gentleman will yield.
Yes, sir.
Tell me practically how this would be done. And let me just ask a question by saying that apparently an individual is in one location signing a document, and the notary is in another location, maybe even somewhere out of the state, notarizing it.
So it would work a lot like Zoom works now. So instead of walking up to your desk, y'all would be on a Zoom or a similar type platform, and you would show your driver's license and your documents there to the video for the person notarizing it.
Okay, so you're saying basically it's notarized in the presence of the notary, but they are not in the same location.
Correct. We're making it allowable by law to do it virtually on video conference.
Okay, I understand we passed this last year in the House.
Yeah, we passed a version of this, yes, sir.
Okay, but it didn't make it through the Senate.
No, sir.
Okay, did you communicate with them as to what happened to it, why they had a problem with it?
Yes, Chairman Yancey has spoken with them, so we're hoping this will make it through.
Okay, and this is different from what we passed last year.
There's not much differences. They worked out a few differences.
What is the need for this legislation?
Well, we're one of only 3 states that doesn't allow this. There's many instances. You could have somebody in the hospital that just physically can't get there.
Okay.
There are lots of instances that makes it, just modernizes it, makes it more current with the way we operate business today.
Okay, all right. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Gentleman from Hines, Mr. Banks.
Gentlemen, if you yield for a question for me, please, sir.
Yes, sir.
I believe now in several places where we have legal documents notarized, it says personally appeared before me. Would that language change? Because that's not personally, in my opinion, it's electronically. How would that be?
Well, we're making it where this would be the same as in person. So it would satisfy that requirement.
So would there be any distinction between an electronic notary versus a really actual notary on the document? I'm thinking about fraud and everything else, and land transactions and loans and other type of electronic thefts that we do see now in our society.
Okay, so Chairman Yancey said that your answer to the questions on line 63, it says personally, which is language you're asking, or by the use of an e-notary vendor.
Okay, so it would say that. So, but it wouldn't distinguish in that document which one it was, would it?
In the document that you're like sending to the bank?
Yeah, and would it say personally or electronically done? I mean, could I say that, look, I want to make sure this is personally done and not electronically done? Could I do that? I'm asking. I'm not trying to be antagonistic.
I think I follow you. Nobody is forced to use this. So this does not make you use the virtual notary. If you want to, at your business, still require in person, you can still have it in person and you can use in person.
Okay.
Is that where you're?
I'm just inquiring because we hear so much fraud now. Mm-hmm. Debit cards, ATM cards, credit cards, everything being fraudulently done. And even though we're one of 3 states that still don't do this, sometimes that might be better to protect the citizens that we have in our state, that we are not so much electronically, because, you know, I've been a victim of electronic fraud, as many people have, and I'm just concerned about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Lady from Lowndes, Ms. McLean.
The gentleman yield.
Yes, ma'am.
So does this also apply to wills? I mean, I don't know what the law is in Mississippi, but in Florida, you have to have 2 witnesses to execute a will. So I don't know, would this also apply?
If a notary currently works, this would work. Anywhere that a notary currently works, this would work.
Sure. Yeah, they don't. Yeah.
I don't see any further questions, gentlemen.
Move final passage.
He moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 76 yeas, 36 nays, the bill passes. Next item, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We go to the next item number 49, House Bill 1316, and I make the usual motion.
You're not going to give us the motion you want this time?
I can.
No, we'll go with it. Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended. The bill considered in gross read the 3rd time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized to explain the bill.
This is a bill to extend the repealer on the State Board of Funeral Services to July 1st of 2028.
Gentlemen, I see you got a committee sub. You want to take it up?
Yes, let's take that committee sub.
He'd move to adopt the committee sub for consideration in lieu of the original bill. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized to explain the committee sub.
Extending the repealer for the Board of Funeral Services to July 1, 2028. That's my explanation. Happy to yield for questions.
Gentleman from Hines, Mr. Banks.
Is that all it does? Any other changes in that code sections?
That's it.
Just seal? That's very simple, isn't it?
That's it.
Okay, well, I'm going to have to vote present, though. Thank you.
I don't see any further questions, gentlemen.
Final passage.
He moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. In favor of the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By vote 113 yeas, 0 nays, the bill passes. I believe we are down to forestry.
Thank you, Mr.
Gentleman from Marion, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On item number 50 on today's calendar, House Bill 294, I'm going to yield to my junior vice president to take care of it.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended. The bill considered engrossed, read the third time, and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Gentleman from Madison is recognized to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 294, it allows a forestry commission to charge state agencies for services managing their timber. So we used to do this years ago. There was a law that changed that state agencies couldn't charge any other state agencies. There was some oversight to this, and nobody really thought on the forestry end. So our forestry commission, these guys are experts in managing our timberlands across the state. So what has happened is you've had a lot of these private companies coming in trying to manage timber at our state agencies, and it's costing the state a lot more money to the tune of 8 to 9%, where the Forestry Commission would just charge just the basic cost of services. So we're just trying to fix that language and allow them to be able to charge to save the state some money.
No questions on the bill. Gentleman from Pearl River, Mr. Owen, he passes. I don't see any questions, gentlemen. He moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. In favor of the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By vote 118 yeas, 0 nays, the bill passes. All right, the next items were the ones the Chairman of Elections had asked to hold their place on the calendar. 51, 52, 53, 54, and 55. That brings us down to 56 and the Chair Lady of Drug Policy. Lady from Pearl River.
I'd like to pass and retain their place on the calendar, please.
56 and 57, both.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, lady. We will do that. Brings us down to Medicaid, item 58. Chairman of Medicaid, lady from Forest.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to go to item number 58 on today's general calendar, House Bill 1401. Call it up and make the usual motions.
Lady calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended. The bill considered engrossed, read the third time, and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to call on the gentleman from Hines to explain the bill.
Gentleman from Hines is recognized to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Ms. Chairwoman. This bill is to authorize community health workers in the state of Mississippi through Medicaid. Currently, we use community health workers now. Dr. Edney brought this to our attention. He's using them, and it's become a very good resource with the department. A community health worker is somebody in your community that's checking on the shut-ins and people that may miss a doctor's appointment or not take their medication. So sometimes it's as simple as a phone call. They may call them to make sure that they're taking their medicine. If they can't get a hold of them, they may knock on the door, make sure they've been to their doctor's office. Within this bill too, they would start the certification program
for community health workers, where they're making sure they're all getting the same training. And that's a brief explanation of the bill. And I'll yield for any questions.
Questions on the bill. Gentleman from Adams, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you. Will the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
I just want to make sure, so is there a reimbursement issue with them as well if they're not certified? I'm just trying to make sure that we're not fixing, and I trust Dr. Edna and what he's doing, but we're not going to be excluding people who are already working.
No, sir.
Okay. And these people work for healthcare organizations right now, not just the health department.
Correct. The health department is using the most of them. There are a few other organizations that have started using them as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
I don't see any further questions, gentlemen.
Move final passage.
He moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. In favor of the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By vote 112 yeas, 0 nays, the bill passes. I believe that's down to education, item 59. Gentleman from Oktibbeha, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, I would go to House Bill number 1139 and make the usual motions.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed read a third time, and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized, gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is an act to amend Section 371151 of Mississippi Code of 1972 to provide that the exemption from the Mississippi Public Records Act for local school districts test security plans for the administration of the statewide assessment program and for related purposes. This is kind of common sense, y'all. We don't want these types of things being able to be gotten for the purposes of cheating or anything else, or people that would create a problem. It's just to exempt this particular issue from public disclosure. That's what this does. I'll be willing to answer any questions if you have any.
Questions on the bill? I don't see any, gentlemen.
Move final passage.
He moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. In favor of the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By vote 118 yeas, 0 nays, the bill passes. Anything further, Mr. Chairman?
No, sir.
All right. Gentleman from Warren, Chairman of AET.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to go to item number 60, House Bill 184, and make the usual motions.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed read the third time and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized, gentlemen, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to ask the gentleman from Hines to handle the bill.
Gentleman from Hines is recognized to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 184 takes the current threshold and moves it from $5,000 to $10,000 where agencies have to request do an RFP. And that's a brief explanation of the bill. And I'll take any questions.
Questions on the bill? I don't see any, gentlemen.
Move final passage.
He moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. In favor of the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By vote 115 yeas, 0 nays, the bill passes. Next item, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to go to item number 61, House Bill 917, and make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended. The bill considered engrossed read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is the bill that we passed last year. This is just saying that if we enter into a confidentiality agreement, that also applies at the local level as well. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. That's the explanation of the bill.
Questions on the bill? I don't see any, gentlemen.
I move final passage.
He moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. In favor of the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 116 yeas, 0 nays, the bill passes. Next item, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to go to item number 62, House Bill 1460, and make the usual motions, and we do have a committee sub.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, the bill considered engrossed, read the third time, and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The gentleman further moves to adopt the committee sub for consideration in lieu of the original bill. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You're recognized to explain the committee sub.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to have that gentleman from Hines to handle the bill.
Gentleman from Hines is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 1460 just allows the MDA to increase their grant authority from $250,000 up to $1 million in limited populations for cities and counties. The committee substitute, there is a reverse repealer in the bill now.
Questions on the bill? Lady from Jones, Ms. Scott.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Will this gentleman yield?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, gentlemen, because I was trying to find my bill. In this bill, is there any language in this bill that doesn't allow for people to receive grants over and over above others who have not?
Let me ask counsel. I don't think so, ma'am.
So there could be some cities and some counties that get the money over and over and over and over again, and now you're going to give them up to $1 million, right? That's what you're proposing now, right?
I guess so, ma'am.
Okay. Does the total fund increase, or is the total fund still the same amount?
I think the total fund is still the same amount.
Can you tell the House what that is?
It is not in the bill.
Can you tell the House what it was last year?
I will have to get that information to you.
What was the last time you put $10 million. 10 million.
Okay.
Okay, so if you increase this to 1 million, then the folks that's been getting it over and over again, it'd just be 10 of them getting it over and over again, right?
What? Yes, well, apparently everything going up in cost, so that's the reason why we did this.
Yeah, but still, if the grant only has $10 million, and we are would you agree, gentlemen, that your bill proposes to increase it up to $1 million, there's a possibility that only 10 counties or municipalities can benefit from this fund, right?
Yes, that's true.
And there is nothing in this bill, even today, that says that if Jones County had been getting $250,000 for the last 10 years, which we have not, but had we, they could continue to just give Jones County, and now they can give them $1 million, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Did the committee give any consideration to saying that if a county or a city had participated in the fund, that there should be some rotation so that all of the counties and all of the cities could have an opportunity to participate at some time?
We didn't consider that in this bill.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Gentleman from Warren, Mr. Denton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentleman, will you yield?
Yes, sir, I do.
And will you please get closer to the mic where I can hear you, please?
I'm right here, sir.
I see you, sir, but I'm just asking you to because I couldn't hear you when you was making your response. So what is the population? What is considered a small municipality and a small county? What's the population size?
For a limited population, for a county, it's 30,000. For a municipality, it's 10,000 or less.
Municipality is 10,000?
Yes, 10,000 or less, or 30,000 or less for a county.
Okay. Thank you.
Gentleman from Washington, Mr. Hines.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentlemen,
Yes, sir, I do.
Who tracks these dollars? Which agency is responsible for letting us know how much and who has received what money?
I think the Mississippi Development Authority. Mississippi Development Authority.
Okay. Is there are you aware if there's a listing of how many cities or counties have repeated the cycle in receiving these funds?
Say that again, I didn't understand you.
Is there a listing of how many cities or counties have received these funds multiple times?
I'm not sure about that. No, there's no listing.
All right. So would you have a problem putting some type of...
There is an annual report that is given every year.
I
said there is an annual report that is required every year to be given.
Okay, so we ought to be able to call and see who got the money over the last couple of years.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I don't see any further questions, gentlemen. You move final passage?
Move to final passage.
He moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. In favor of the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote 117 yeas, 1 nay, the bill passes. Next item, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to go to item number 63, House Bill 1505, and make the usual motions, and we do have a committee sub.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended. The bill considered engrossed read a third time and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed no. The ayes have it. The gentleman further moves to adopt the committee sub for consideration in lieu of the original bill. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed no. The ayes have it. You recognize, gentlemen, to explain the committee sub.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, this goes to the construction manager at risk method in project delivery, particularly concerning the sections with contractors and vendors for institutions of higher learning and community college, but it only applies to projects of $25 million and more. We did add in some language in committee that says that only 10 to 15% can the construction manager compete on. That way he can't take advantage of his subcontractors. We added that in subcommittee, and that's my explanation of the bill, Mr. Speaker.
Questions on the bill? I don't see any, gentlemen.
Move final passage.
He moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 116 yeas, 0 nays, the bill passes. Next item, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to go to item number 64, House Bill 13, and make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended. The bill considered engrossed read the third time and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed no. The ayes have it. You recognize, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to have the gentleman from Pike to handle the bill.
Gentleman from Pike is recognized to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, House Bill number 13 simply allows our community colleges and junior colleges, instead of having to go through DFA to approve any contracts for construction of any buildings or maintenance, it allows that college itself to approve those contracts. That's my brief explanation of the bill.
Questions of the gentleman on the bill? I don't see any, gentlemen.
I move for final passage.
He moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Favor of the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 113 yeas, 3 nays, the bill passes. Announcements, Madam Clerk. Gentleman from Jones, Mr. Scoggin, for what purpose?
Yes, sir. On the item we just voted for, House Bill number 13, item number 64, I'd like to hold it on a motion to reconsider.
Please notify the chairman. All right, Madam Clerk does not have announcements. Announcements by the members. Gentleman from Pearl River, Mr. Owen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 1154, I'd like to hold out on a motion.
Please notify the chairman. Gentleman from Lee, Mr. Aguirre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On today's calendar, number 25, House Bill 1239, I'd like to change my vote from no to yes.
Could you please restate that, gentleman? I'm sorry. From?
On item number 25, House Bill 1239, I'd like to change my vote from a no to a yes.
Is there objection? Change the gentleman's vote. Lady from Jones, Ms. Scott.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to hold on a motion to reconsider on the general calendar, item number 14, House Bill 1534. And Mr. Speaker, I'd like to hold item number 62, House Bill 1460, also on a motion to reconsider.
Thank you, lady. Please notify the chairman. Gentleman from Rankin, Mr. Shanks.
Announcement, Mr. Speaker.
You're recognized.
Wednesday at 2 p.m. at Broadmoor Baptist, we have a celebration of life for radio personality Paul Gallo, and everyone's invited.
Thank you, gentlemen. Gentleman from Bolivar, Mr. Sanders.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask the ladies and gentlemen of the House to join with us tomorrow that we have our green and white day at Mississippi Valley State University. We're celebrating our 75th celebration. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Gentleman from Washington, Mr. Hines.
Adjourn in memory, Mr. Speaker.
You're recognized.
I'd like to ask the House to help adjourn in memory with Representative, the other gentleman, the senior gentleman from Washington, Representative Bailey, and myself, and Ms. Betty Lynn Cameron, who passed over the weekend, who's a dear supporter of our higher education community. So in fact, she started the Hot Tamale Festival in Washington County, and City Councilman James Wilson, who passed last week.
Thank you, gentlemen. We will do that. Gentleman from Pike, Mr. Porter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A request and an announcement.
You're recognized.
Thank you.
State your request.
I'd like to ask unanimous consent to change my vote on item 44, House Bill number 1522, from yay to nay.
Is there objection? Hearing none, we will do that. Change the gentleman's vote. You had an announcement as well, gentlemen.
Yes, sir, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to, ladies and gentlemen of the House, I just want to let the House know that if you have any suffrage bills, then those need to be submitted by March the 3rd. March the 3rd is the deadline for suffrage bills. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Lady from Hines, Ms. Summers.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have a request and an announcement.
State your request.
I'd like to hold item number 9 on the general calendar, House Bill 924, on a motion.
On a motion to reconsider, lady?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Please notify the chairman. We will do that. Further announcement?
Yes, sir, Mr. Speaker. The House is invited to the Jackson State University reception on Wednesday at 5:30 at the Capitol Club. Thank you.
Thank you, lady. Gentleman from Jefferson, Mr. Harness.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like a request.
State your request.
Request unanimous consent to, on item number 46 on the general calendar, House Bill 1473, to be voted yes.
You didn't record a vote?
I didn't vote, no, sir.
Record the gentleman's vote. Gentleman from Harrison, Mr. Haney.
Request, Mr. Speaker.
State your request.
Like line item number 35, House Bill 660, to be held on a motion to reconsider.
Please notify the chairman. Gentleman from DeSoto, Mr. Eubanks.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, I assume we're probably coming in early tomorrow, so if you want to come in just a little earlier, Representative Newman will be leading the devotion in the Capitol Prayer Group. We'd love to have you come and join us.
Thank you, gentlemen. Lady from Humphreys, Ms. James Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to ask if we would adjourn in memory of Ms. Tara Dodd of Humphreys County, Mississippi, longtime poll worker who passed away on February 1st. If you will, please join in with me for that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, lady. We will do that. Gentleman from Hines, Mr. Banks.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like the House to join me to adjourn in memory of the Kansas City Chiefs. Go Philly.
Thank you, gentlemen. We will certainly do that. All right, gentleman from Rankin, Mr. Newman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Adjourn in memory.
You're recognized.
A longtime friend of mine, former agent of mine, and a longtime Meridian bail agent, Mr. Ken Henley, passed yesterday afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. We will do that. Before I recognize the gentleman from Rankin for the motion, to the gentleman from Hines' point, I do think it was pretty neat last night when the team's captains went to the field for the pregame coin toss. Mississippi was represented by both teams as captains there. We had Mississippians on both teams as captains there. It's pretty cool. Our guys always seem to find their way to the top of that. It's pretty cool to see. I hope some of those champions will come and celebrate with us a little later on this session. Y'all need to seek them out, those of you that are connected to those with the Eagles. All right, gentleman from Rankin, Mr. Shanks for the motion.
I move that the House stand adjourned until 10 a.m. tomorrow.
Gentleman's motion is the House stand adjourned until 10 a.m. tomorrow. If you favor that motion, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The House will stand adjourned until 10 a.m. tomorrow.
Now,